Yes, we are live here on Sportzwire Radio in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform you most certainly helped build here to get us to nearly 1,360 subscribers. And the man that needs no further introduction, but will certainly get one here. He's, of course, the host of the Hockey Fan Chat. He's our senior wrestling analyst here on Sportswire Radio. He was once upon a time trained by a heart. You've seen him cover it live for us here on Sportswire Radio at Survivor Series. He's always got a lot to say. And I'm talking about no, one and only Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer Randy Dillon, who we get a chance to see for the first time in 2025. And it's been a long year since I last saw you, Randy. And how are we doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, Tom, but what a time to be alive if you're a wrestling fan. Like, we are in I don't know if you call it a new era, a new excitement. There's so much.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. New era has been sort of a thing they've used in backyard wrestling and underground wrestling. I've heard it a couple of times now. It's a new era in independent wrestling. We have a company in Pennsylvania and PWX, and one of the wrestlers came on here, and he's in a group. It's the new era, where it's the new era now. So, new era has been a common topic, but I know we're live here during the last hour or so of SmackDown, but it is good to be with you. So what is your general impressions of SmackDown so far, and this blue mat everybody's talking about on X?
The blue mat I like because I think, listen, SmackDown been called the blue brand, so let's have a blue mat. I think you go back to that god-awful Red Hell in a Cell they had many years on Raw. Which was horrible. But this, I think, is fine. Like, the blue mat, there's nothing wrong with it. It adds something to the show. The SmackDown show overall, I would say it's been a little bit above average, but I understand why. Because, listen, we are, I think, in store for the biggest wrestling show of all time this Monday on Netflix.
I was going to ask you about that because it felt like, to me, Raw on Monday was like, if a tree fell in a forest, would you hear it? And that was kind of my impression of Raw on Monday. But yet, this Raw coming up on Netflix, I mean, it's probably one of the most anticipated Raws in a long time. And Randy, you left on the stage. Randy, you left us here.
Oh, sorry, my camera sometimes.
I mean, boy, I know it's that anticipated, Randy, but it was so anticipated you decide, you know what, I'm going to turn the video off here. And maybe I'm going to go to Netflix. But it's funny, this past Monday was, like I said, if a tree fell in the forest, would you hear it fall? And then yet, this might be one of the most anticipated Raws in I don't know when.
I think it's one of the most anticipated wrestling shows of all time, from Raw, SmackDown, Nitro, Dynamite, Impact. Like, I think how the show has stacked up, the surprises you're going to get, the matches you have, it feels like it should be a live event. But it's like a premium live event, like a SummerSlam, not close enough to Mania, but it had that big field.
Well, all right. Well, let me ask you a question, and I don't know how I'm going to phrase this. And boy, Randy, you're really getting excited. Maybe I don't know, but maybe you're waiting to put your camera on for Monday's show. But let me ask you this question. I don't know how to phrase this, but is there a way that Monday could let people down based on the hype?
I think some parts can be put down with the hype. The big thing will be if The Rock shows up. If he doesn't show up, I mean, that I think is a big thing people are expecting.
What do you think? Do you think he'll show up?
I don't know. Like, The Rock he's a man of silence. Like, I think The Rock if he's gonna make a surprise, he's either gonna leak it or not. Like, we saw the few.
Well, why would he leak it? Because I think that would be, in like the Undertaker shows up at this past WrestleMania, we didn't know about it, right? Wouldn't The Rock not leak anything so you could maybe be on suspense?
I think The Rock, with his popularity, like, The Rock is a worldwide star. Like,
I agree with that.
Everyone knows who Dwayne Johnson is. So if you want to get those last little bit of people to tune in, you kind of want to give him a little tease, like we saw a few years ago, him showing up on Pat McAfee's show in Colorado. The next thing you know, he's on SmackDown. So definitely, you want to give that tease there. I think another disappointment could be if Solo wins. I'm not going to say he is, but that's a big disappointing people are going to be complaining about.
It was funny. I was on a TikTok live, and I see my friend Ox McCoy and Nathaniel Rage are here. I was on a TikTok live, and Solo Sikoa came up on Monday, and that actually that topic came up as what would people think. That's interesting. But speaking of one worldwide star out there, if you read X and you see different things, and I don't know what to believe, Randy, I really try not to believe in the rumors, but there's a rumor out there that a worldwide figure is going to be around, and a worldwide figure is apparently getting a shot at some guy named Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 41 and John Cena and Randy. I mean, what's up with that?
That is interesting, Tom. I'm just kind of going back and forth because I think Tiffany Stratton may be cashing in the Money in the Bank right now.
Oh, wow. Because you know what? I can't even watch SmackDown, unfortunately, because
She won. She just cashed it in. We have a new woman champion.
So Tiffany Stratton finally cashed in.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a huge moment, Randy. Live on Sportswire. Tiffany Stratton cashed in. And wow. I mean, that's going to be one people will talk about. Goes right into Netflix. Wow.
Yeah, I'll go back to your earlier comment. John Cena, you know what? I was thinking about this. If this was a few years ago, I could see it because it's kind of the passing of the biggest baby face for the last 10 years to right now, I think even a bigger baby face in Cody Rhodes. I'm not too sure how it's going to work because one, these face versus face dream matches, sometimes they never work out. There's no hype. There's no build. How do you really build up? We saw with John Cena and Roman Reigns a number of years ago, there was nothing there. The Rock kind of was trying to tease Cena to turn heel, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And I don't expect John Cena to kind of beat Cody Rhodes. That's the other thing.
I was going to say the same thing. John Cena hasn't won a singles match in over half a decade now. I mean, what's the point of this match unless he's going to break Flair's record? But it wouldn't seem like there's any oomph toward that, any juice, you might want to say, towards Cena legitimately beating Cody Rhodes. So what's the point, really?
Yeah, it's like kind of those ones where in the fantasy world, it kind of, you want to see it. John Cena, his last hooray, can he pull it off against Cody Rhodes from the guy of Stardust to where he is now at the top of the company, to the top baby faces of all time in WWE merchandise seller with Cody, John Cena did. It speaks volume, but this is where you compare WWE to AEW. What's the story you tell for this?
Well, I guess there's one thing you could, and I don't know how far WWE will go back with this and even take it to any level, but John Cena in Boston, what was it, 2 years ago? And they had the handshake with Cody Rhodes. That was kind of almost the passing. Do you remember that on Raw?
I do remember that. He came out talking with Austin Theory, then acknowledged Cody Rhodes coming out, shake his hand. But it just doesn't feel. I think Cena's past that point. But I understand they're having problems figuring out who do you want Cena to face for the last WrestleMania. You want to make it big.
We talked about this eons, over the past several months. Who should he face? But Cody. I mean, would you have Cena break the record here and let him have the belt for a month or something like that and give it back? Or we're not in this era?
What do you do with Cody then? Do you make him turn heel all of a sudden, and then which I think he's gonna be heel, but I don't think now's not the time.
Maybe give him a rematch with it, and then
but then it just feels flat. Like it just kind of like when you give Cody the title, then what do you do?
They gave Hogan the belt for a month when he came back and passed it right back.
Yeah, but I think with
Shawn
Hogan,
Michaels got the belt back. He won it at Survivor Series and dropped it a month later.
The difference with Michael, you got a heel Triple H, and I think the big thing with Hogan was you had a heel Taker who then passed it off to The Rock, who passed it off to a young Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. And TBK, who I hope he's feeling better. I saw on Facebook he was not doing well, so I hope he's feeling better. Tiffany Stratton cashed in. So I mean, you want to talk about that for a few minutes?
I think this was the suspense. I thought when we're going to get the cash in, are we going to have another Damian Priest thing? We're going to wait till Mania. I think it was perfect. Like we saw the tension between her and Nia with Candice, and listen, what she did was kind of genius. First taking out Naomi, then hitting Nia, letting Bianca do the KOD, and then taking out everyone else to pick up the dirty work. I thought it was a brilliant cash in. It kind of explained the purpose of Money in the Bank, keeps her as a heel as well, sets up a lot of possibilities because you can set her up against now potentially a Bianca Belair. You know she had to go through Nia Jax. Nia Jax, Bianca Belair, now you kind of have in the mix. Where's Jade Cargill going to show up? Like there's a lot of different possibilities.
Well, when do you think Jade Cargill comes back? When do we see Jade
I
Cargill?
think Rumble, she'll make a return. I really thought tonight she was going to come and screw Naomi, but I think Tiffany cashing in tells two things. One, they're going in a different direction where they believe she's going to be part of this new generation of women who's going to carry the women division with the likes of herself, Bianca Belair.
I think Tiffany Stratton's been building for this for a while. I think that she's another, I guess, this generation's version of a Trish Stratus, Mandy
Absolutely.
Rose. I mean, there's no question. There's just the similarities.
She has the look. She has the,
I mean, pretty much
her
if
athletic
I took,
ability just at another level, I would say.
yeah, if I took Mandy Rose, if I took Trish Stratus, and I combine them into one, I think
got
I get
Tiffany.
I mean, and I think most people won't complain about that. But so, I mean, where do we go with Tiffany Stratton then in the Rumble? Do we see Nia Jax get a rematch here? So where do we go in this situation now?
So Nia Jax with a rematch. I don't know if it's going to be a Rumble or the Saturday Night Main Event ahead of the Rumble, because we still have that, which is interesting why they're having a Saturday Night Main Event. But I think it opens up more matches where you have more focus on the Rumble matches. You give them more time because they already
now that's the 18th, right? Is that in 2 weeks from now? 3 weeks from now.
Yes, 3 weeks.
Because the Rumble is what, a week after that?
Week after Saturday Night Main Event, yeah.
Okay, so we got 3 weeks from now. So you're gonna build up for that. So you got some really big shows coming up here in WWE. Boy, WWE shows are. I was watching something the other day, and somebody posted a video, and almost premium live events, or almost even house shows, are like must-sees now, because all these shows, they lead into something. I mean, there was something with Punk lost the world title controversially or something. There, you see that?
He came the day CM Punk comes out on the bathrobe and a towel and a shower cap. I think was more hilarious than anything. If you thought.
Well, that's why I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm glad I wasn't there
but
for
I
that.
think it shows. Listen, he's having the time of his life.
I mean, if AJ might have came out in a towel, I might have had a difference of opinion. All right, so I mean, Tiffany Stratton, realistically, is she a long-term champion here?
I think she is, and the other possibilities is Charlotte Flair is rumored to come back.
But when is Charlotte Flair come? Everybody's like, she's coming back. She's going to do this. She's going to do that. And it's been a while now. Has it been, over a year now with Charlotte?
She's been heard. This is the longest you've gone out without her seeing on TV, which I think also shows you how strong the women's division is. But listen,
does that tell you anything about Charlotte Flair and what her injury?
It was a bad injury. They already said it was going to be about 9 months. So, but I think with Triple H running a division he had compared to when Vince had it, where Vince relied on only 4 or 5 people, where you rush everyone to come back. Look at John Cena. How
he might have only wanted to look at 4 or 5 people, knowing Vince.
Exactly, yeah. But I think, listen, like, you have opportunity for Charlotte Flair. Like, I think Tiffany Stratton and this is really two genetic, athletic, dominant people. Tiffany Stratton on the rise, where Charlotte Flair has been at the top. If you want to give her the endorsement, it's either her.
Yeah, I mean, what do you even get out of Charlotte Flair at this point now? I mean, I hate to say it, but we're looking at Charlotte Flair around 40, right? About around 40. So she's been out of action for over a year. And before that, she was injured. Now, she came back from an injury prior, right? Remember, she was out for a while. She gets injured now. You said 9 months, but we're looking at, I'm pretty sure, like 12 or 13 months.
It's been over a calendar year.
So almost, what do you expect from a Charlotte Flair? I get the women's division's really deep. I agree with you. You got a lot of names. Jade Cargill's going to come back. What happens there? You got Bianca still, Naomi, Nia Jax is in the mix on SmackDown. But, like, where do where does a Charlotte Flair go from here? And what do you expect realistically from her in this particular environment?
I expect a Charlotte Flair to see, can some of these young upcoming, like a Tiffany Stratton, like a Chelsea Green, like a Lyra Valkyria, can they hang with the best? Because I think that was kind of back in the day, if you could, I'm talking like 90s when Taker was around, early 2000. If you could hang with Taker, you had that kind of
your measuring stick, right?
The measuring stick. And the Miz was kind of one of those guys. He held his own with Taker, and that's kind of how he was able to get out of that rut where he was banned from the locker room. And I think Charlotte Flair is going to be like that. If you can hold your own against me, you're here to stay.
That's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. In Chelsea Green, I mean, here's somebody that I think the fans have kind of willed to be the U.S. champion, and
Yep.
kind of comes back to WWE about a year and a half or so ago, and kind of had like I don't want to put terms out there, but this Karen gimmick or whatever it is, and she's kind of wrote it, which is kind of half satire to be the United States champion, and that's a huge feat for first women's U.S. champion and international champion technically, and Chelsea Green's kind of an interesting glue here in this mix in this women's division.
Yeah, like Chelsea Green definitely, like, she's not good enough to be a world champion, but doesn't mean that she has athletic. We remember how long her and Piper Niven hold the tag team champions for to
Yep.
keep those title relevant quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then I think Chelsea Green, that the character works. And I know you have the AEW marks out there saying, "Oh, well, it's all about wrestling." Well, when you're on live television and you have to get people's attention, you have to have a character.
It's so different. As we hear with Randy Dillon, a senior wrestling analyst here, we'll get to some people in the chat. I want to say hello to some friends that are here and some others, and we do hope TBK hope he really feels better. Like I said on Facebook, really, my thoughts and prayers. I read he had like 100-degree fever or something, and just really bad. So I really hope that we'll see him here next week on the show. But I mean, you look at really now, it just totally, when you're in a live environment, people don't realize that segments and how they break them down, how they analyze them, and how important that those segments are, and people sometimes don't understand the importance or the aspects of the audience and the viewer at home, but also the viewer there live watching.
Oh, absolutely! Like you look at some of the premium event, the pay-per-view, you're going to get good wrestling. But to get more people there, you have to have a good enough story to get them interested.
Well, we saw Baron Corbin for all those years was the ultimate definition of "I'll change the channel." Unfortunately,
exactly. Like if you were at a live, like I went to Elimination Chamber in 2018 Las Vegas. I went more for seeing the Elimination Chamber, and the main event was you had kind of John Cena, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, Seth Rollins, The Miz, Finn Balor, and Elias in the chamber, which it was a decent match, but there was really kind of no bigger story to draw more attention for people. You look at kind of right now this Raw for Netflix. It's a big deal, but what's even bigger, the story that's attracting people where people want to go see this.
Well, I think Raw and Netflix, this is a generational thing. It's obviously something that's going to change, I think, the landscape of television. We've talked about this before. You're starting to see Amazon Prime has the NFL. Netflix had a bunch of games on Christmas for the NFL. They had a playoff game, I think, last year, right? The NBA now is going to be on Amazon Prime. So there's no question that the landscape, I think, of how we view television, especially sports, right? I'm going to throw wrestling in sports because I'm a wrestling guy. You've actually gone out there and trained.
You still got to be athletic as much as
you know what? That's what I say. So you and I are on the same page on that. So there's no question that this is really a moment that very well it could change as a domino effect to everywhere else. Major League Baseball, the NHL, certainly. Maybe I'll ask you a question at the end when Chris comes on about that. The NFL, all these sports right now. So what Raw is doing, this could very well change the consumption of how we view sports and maybe even television altogether.
It is. The long Raw's 32 years on the air, and now that's coming to
I mean, they were on for about 5 years. It was Spike TV and TNN, whatever it was, but it mostly was on USA for I say 26 or 27 out of the 32 years. It's a long run.
It is, yeah. It's a game changer. Like how people watch stuff now, it's no longer back in the day. You look at the TV guide on the paper. You look at the paper. This is me when I was a kid. You look at the paper for the week. What TV shows on?
I do remember growing up in Brooklyn. I remember it was a big deal when my parents started. My mother's not listening to this one here, but I do remember when we started. I felt we were doing good, and we got the TV guide delivered to us. And I would look at the TV. I remember being 9 or 10. This has to be 99, 2000 or something like that. And I looked at the TV guide. I would look through it. I would get excited to see what time is the reruns on? What time is Thunder on? What time is Nitro? What time? I was into that stuff. It was, now people would laugh at you. TV guy, they would look at
The
newspaper
old
news.
VHS tapes, Tom, where you have to
Yeah,
play and record.
yeah. I mean, people would look at you and go, "What? What are you talking about?" I mean, my buddy Barry Gutman's in here. I don't even. Does Barry? Do you remember that? It's just so different now. I mean, it's just you go and click a button and there it is.
Oh, exactly. And I think this is what it is. It's now so on demand where, okay, you rather than rewinding and PVR, it's like, okay, you can just sit. If you're somewhere, you have 5 minutes, you can watch it. You're on the
Yeah.
train, you're going.
You own the video. You
If you're
download it. It's a
driving,
different world.
you don't drive and watch wrestling at the same time. Like, but it's how things have changed. Things are not the palm of our hands. Where if you have
No.
5 minutes, you can know what's happening. You can go back later to watch it rather than going through the whole thing. You can just I was here, resume it from here, or skip all the parts.
Barry said he's not that old. Barry, I don't even remember are we the same age? I don't remember when we first met in this Roman election. How old are you? But that's a different point for a different time. But let me talk to you. I'm sure we'll get into some things on SmackDown. We have a little bit of time on it. TBK made a good point. He said maybe Charlotte could still return tonight. That's a fair point. I'll plug some people here in the chat in a few minutes. But so Raw on Netflix, are we getting some surprise returns? I mean, Becky Lynch is thrown out there. I mean, that would kind of make sense, right? CM Punk, Seth Rollins, or do we she avoids that? Or are we going to see Becky Lynch back out there?
I assume Becky Lynch is going to be back for this. She's been gone for almost 6 months, and you got to remember what are we close to? 4 weeks away from the Rumble. We're in Mania season. You want your big stars coming back, so this is the time you want to get. If The Rock is going to be there, we saw him last year. The first Raw, he was there. Becky Lynch, you want her there. This is the time you need her to show up on TV. AJ Lee. Who knows?
You know what? I mean, like I said, I don't want to buy into the internet, but I obviously
Meltzer doesn't know what he's talking about these days.
I gave up on Meltzer, man. Meltzer is one thing, but would you really interject Becky Lynch into this CM Punk Seth Rollins? But I would have to think you only interject her in it unless AJ Lee is a part of this.
Yeah,
right?
I don't put Becky unless you know AJ's returning. You need AJ to show up first for Becky to make a return. Then it makes sense because you kind of interject Becky and then you have the speculation AJ's returning or not, and then it just goes crazy. But I don't think she's returning. I think you need to let AJ make the first move then to guarantee Becky's coming in.
Okay, yeah, because I think it would be separate entities. I don't think, and I'm still under the impression AJ is not wrestling at this point. I don't see.
She's happy what she's doing. I know she's training, but listen, she's been away for 10 years, and we remember her being one of the top wrestlers when she was in the ring.
I mean, I guess you could say that Trish came back after a long layoff.
The only thing with Trish is she was with a full-time Charlotte Flair. Becky Lynch hasn't been in the ring for 8 months. So if Becky Lynch was in the ring, I would say been back for a few months, but prior, then maybe I give the benefit doubt. But 8 months is still a long time to be out of that ring.
But AJ Lee, though, to me, is out over 10 years. And I don't see how she could just all of a sudden just snap, crackle, and pop. I just don't. I don't know.
It's very interesting. I don't. It's mum the word. I would say this much is very quiet, but don't hold your breath for AJ Lee returning at this time.
All right. Well, let me ask you about one more because somebody brought this up a couple days ago on Sportswire. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was of all people. Was it Anthony Steele of all people that brought it? I'm trying to think who brought it up, but Penta's name came up on one of these streams on Sportswire. Are we going to see Penta? Because it seems like there's signs that finally this will be the moment. Well, what's your thoughts on that?
I actually been thinking about this a lot, Tom, and I'm getting ready for the question, to be honest.
Oh, well,
the problem with you're hyping up Penta to debut, but he's been known for his time with his brother Ray Felix at the Lucha Bros.
Yeah.
Him as a single character, not many people, I would say, know his work unless those who follow his career, like the luchador community, other independent. So for the WWE audience, they might know him a little bit, not much. If they are, I do believe Penta's coming to WWE, but I think it's more beneficial for him to go to NXT to get him developed there. And then when Ray Felix is ready to come, then you bring them together.
Why do you say that for? People seem like they want to see him on on Raw or SmackDown right away?
The
Why do you
other
say
thing
that?
is, where do you put him in the mix? You have so much talent as it is. You're putting him with Rey Mysterio, the LWO. You kind of see what happened with Dragon Lee, and like he still has some, and Dragon Lee has some work to do, no doubt about it. But like, where do you put him in the mix? I think NXT is a little bit more of a safe bet, even if it's for a short amount of time. It's
Yeah.
just more of an opportunity to get his feet wet, get some work in, and get him established.
Interesting point. Interesting point. Get him in a place that maybe he could shine for a bit. Have him go down there for a while, and then when he's ready to make the jump, his debut on the Raw or SmackDown roster will mean more, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, because I think because people were complaining about the Motor City Machine Guns a few weeks ago, saying, "Oh, they ruined the guns and all that kind of stuff." Listen, the guns are
Yeah, we
still
spoke
in
about
fall.
that. I think your last time you were here, we talked a little bit about
But
that.
the guns are still in the fall. But you look at some other people they've debuted, and I know it had in the Triple H era, it really hadn't happened often. But you look at maybe the Creed brothers, where they come from NXT, they got in a big feud, and kind of got dropped down. Now they're trying to build themselves up again with Chad Gable and the Real Americans. It's very easy to get lost in that shuffle as a brand new toy, whether you're in W or AEW, if you don't have really any kind of direction rather than a quick pop, and then you don't know where you're going next in the next few weeks.
I'll get to some of the people in the chat. I got a few comments, but let me ask you one other question. Is there any other surprises out there you think will be out there for Raw on Monday?
We could see Stone Cold, we could see Goldberg, like the usual, the Undertaker, like you.
Undertaker, all right, I guess.
Maybe Mayor Kane might make an appearance. President Trump, maybe President Trump. No, that one I'm just
I
kidding.
mean, you know what? I mean, I don't like to get political because I actually have a background in politics. I've actually worked for both Republicans and
But I hope
Democrats.
the big red machine, not the mayor of Knoxville.
I was gonna say, I mean, I know there's a photo out there with Triple H and Stephanie out there in Mar-a-Lago, but I mean, I don't know. Kane, I don't know what the hype would be with that. You know, Stone Cold's a name that always gets thrown out there. I don't know about that, but Goldberg, and I hate to say Goldberg, but Goldberg wants one more match in the WWE ring. So wouldn't this be the moment to maybe test the waters?
Yeah,
I mean,
you got to set it up here eventually. Who, if you want to give him that one more match and build it up, like if it's going to be at Mania, you got to start it somewhere.
yeah, and I think that what bigger stage to throw Goldberg in there, see what he's worth. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. But let me get to some comments here. We'll come back to SmackDown, talk about AEW. I don't know why, but I'll talk about AEW for a little bit. My buddy, Mr. Nathaniel Rage, is here. I was speaking with Nathaniel earlier today. We had a really great conversation. We speak pretty regularly, and looking forward to Rocky coming on here, Texas Red, very soon. I'm trying to figure out which day. I asked Rocky, and I think he's going to get back to me. So thank you, Nathaniel Rage. Follow Nathaniel Rage, House of Rage Productions on YouTube. I'm always tagged on Facebook with him, and he's always one of my favorites. He's got merchandise now, and I told him in a few weeks I'll buy some merchandise. So, Randy, at this point, I'll have like 50 million wrestling shirts. I have like 49 million. I'll have 50 million by the end of the month. Literally, at this point, I don't even know like which shirts to wear. It's almost I should have like a wardrobe of wrestling shirts. That's it. I mean, maybe they'll bury me in wrestling shirts. I'll have so many that I'll be buried in them. But how you doing, Zilla? Nice to see you. Zilla can't make her mind up on yesterday's show. I won't get in the details with you, Randy, but she was liked one person, like the other group, the other person. It was a big thing on Instagram, but we're happy to see Zilla. And Zilla, by the way, Randy, she came on to Sportswire New Year's Eve. She showed up, she made a cameo, and it was kind of fun, but it was hopefully the next one will be better. My man, Ox McCoy, who I'm definitely not messing with Ox. Ox reigns in blood, sends his messages in blood, and he's part of the group House of Wolves now, and he wears just black. So I think Ox is going to spare me from some thumbtacks and some brutal, heinous attacks, but thank you, Ox, for tuning in. I think he did wish my mom a happy birthday, so thank you, Ox. Yes, hello there. We appreciate that very much. We love and appreciate. You know what? It's funny. I was supposed to have a guest Monday night, right? Stephen Havoc. And I'll give him a shout out, actually. It's all right. He's coming on Tuesday night because he actually said, I don't want to miss Raw on Monday because we were supposed to do our show during the Raw. So this is almost like, I don't want to say it's like the Super Bowl to people or the Stanley Cup, but It's that big a thing. I mean, are you taking a vacation day for Raw?
I'm not taking vacation day, but my plan is to go work out first thing at 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure after work I'm gonna have my butt glued on the couch to watch Raw.
Wow. Well, okay. You know what? I give you a lot of credit. All right. You know what? I didn't think that people were going to be that glued into it. I just thought people would do their regular routine, but
they built it up to be like a special event, like the theme, like Roman and Solo. Yeah, I think you could done, but CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, like you don't do this on a Raw. You have to be a special reason you're giving this on a Monday night rather than a Saturday night in April.
Well, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a generational thing. It's the first. It's not a free thrower. Yeah, the logic would be don't do it for a free show, but I think this is a different point. So, well said. Hello there. Yep. Hello to Ox and the IMF Wolves, our friends in the IMF who are always here on Sports. Well, they run the platform literally. Yes, good to see Ox. We love Ox. Yes, Zilla, stay on his good side. TBK, yep, we spoke about Tiffy time. I'll come back to some SmackDown. Yep, hi to TBK. Hope he feels better. We'll see him next week. Slowly but surely recovering. Yep, that's people are getting sick right now. I shouldn't say it, but I was doing some work because I do some political work of all things, and I was out in Brooklyn and some of my home communities, and I knock on somebody's door I happen to know. And I'm thinking, all right, they're going to let me in. I'm going to maybe sit down. And before that, the door I went to, somebody was like, Tom, you want some coffee? You want to sit down? I'm like, no, I'm good. I got to go. I got to run. Because people love me in the neighborhood. They want to see me. I want to tell them to tune in to see you. But they just like, they want to give me the coffee. But the lady was like, she was sick. She was like, she had COVID. A lot of people are getting sick right now. I didn't realize that was a thing still. So I hope that TBK is getting better. And speaking of people, Barry, my man Barry just got 100 subs, 120 something subs, and he's on live right now. And he hopefully, did you get the chair, Barry? What happened with the chair, by the way? I sent you another donation for the chair. You're supposed to get a chair. His chair broke. He got the money for the chair, and I was wondering what happened with the new chair. But good to see my man Barry. Definitely mention that. She's being rebranded, so to speak, a darker queen gimmick, a darker Charlotte Flair. What do you think?
I think Charlotte Flair, the natural heel, like we've seen the face, like against Asuka,
like Stephanie McMahon. It's like I don't really want to cheer for Stephanie McMahon.
No, you want the natural, especially at this point of Charlotte Flair's career, you gotta give her what's gonna work. And if a heel persona is gonna give you the best, and listen. Tiffany Stratton, I think, is a better heel than face, but we'll see. Come Bianca Belair, like, listen, I think she can go the face.
Think Tiffany Stratton is going to be a face, though, soon. I think something tells me because, again, just like Trish Stratus, just like Mandy Rose, people...
Okay, Mandy Rose was only a face because of Otis. It's just, let's not give that...
No, I know that, but in terms of, like, what... Well, I guess Mandy Rose could have had meant more... I mean, the NXT run was amazing, but I meant in terms of how people, they want to look at Tiffany Stratton. I think that's going to maybe 6-9 months from now down the road, lead her to where the fans cheer for her. I don't know. I mean, that's just, but I agree with you. I think that Charlotte Flair is a natural heel, and I think that's what TBK was sort of alluding to. And yes, thank you, Barry. Barry was on 2 accounts, which we appreciate Barry for doing. Yeah, I think he was talking about the VHS. Yeah. And so wait a minute, Barry's 27. So that means in 2012, you were like 15 on the Sorobin campaign. You were 15. Barry's like a big boy. I thought you were like 18 or 19 then, but you're 15. You were 15 all those years ago. Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. My buddy Ace Reed, who wrestled his first match in a pro wrestling ring, he wrestled it. I watched it right before New Year's against Ace Shack. Really good match. Ace is one of our favorites. He was our guest in the chair last week, and really love having Ace on Sportswire, and hope he's doing well. Who else? Yep, thank you for that. Who else we got in the chat? Hi to Randy. Yep, good. She's going to not support Justin Parsley, but he's not here right now. I don't know why you need to bring him up, but these guys are great. Yes, we love them and we like them as friends. All right, so I got some of those things out of the way. Let me talk about AEW for a few minutes, and I'll come back into SmackDown. I read Jeff Jarrett signs a contract, and I read that Jeff Jarrett wants to be the AEW World Champion. I ask you, Randy, much as I love Jeff Jarrett dearly, as much as I appreciate Jeff Jarrett and his family being in the wrestling business since 1947, I ask you, why?
I don't know why Tony Khan trying to copy WWE with John Cena. I know there's a star in New Japan.
I ask, why?
The thing with Jeff Jarrett is I think you can get it work, but this needs to be a prolonged story with mountains and valleys where he had his ups and downs. You can't just give it to him in a few weeks or the next pay-per-view then say, okay, it's done. You have to build it. You have to get the fans involved. Because listen, Jeff Jarrett, he's a known commodity. This isn't your random guy, your Eddie Kingston. And I know I'm gonna get slack for this, but listen, Eddie Kingston, I didn't know until he showed up in AEW, and he's barely around now the last year. But this is a guy people know. If you want people to follow him, being interested, you gotta sell it. And that where AEW failed, I think, kind of was Sting in his farewell, where like you want to give him the ups and downs, you want to build around, but if you don't, it's going to be a massive
Jeff Jarrett
fail.
though on the same. I mean, and I love Jeff Jarrett, and I think that as he talked about on Wednesday, impact him. I do think that he will be judged a lot better, and he continues to be judged better over time because of the impact, pun intended, of TNA. But as much as I love Jeff Jarrett dearly, I don't think he's on the same level as Sting.
Yeah, no, like definitely Sting had more of a awe, especially with the work with the NWO, but
Sting was a horseman, Sting and Flair. I mean, Sting was a bona fide main eventer. Jarrett, and I loved Jeff Jarrett as a kid, but Jeff Jarrett in his runs in
Jeff, other than his early runs in TNA where he was the only one kind of running the show, it's like Jeff Jarrett more known as that kind of, him. He's not like, oh my God.
He's like
Double J. It's like, hey, I know Jeff Jarrett. I remember him doing this kind of stuff. It's not like Sting where you get the reaction, my God, it's like Stony Fun.
But he wasn't a main event attraction. Yes, he was a world champion many times at Impact.
He wasn't an attraction, but he wasn't the attraction.
He was like, I hate to say the term, like almost like he's not if you're a hockey guy, obviously, he was not a first line player. No. Yes, he's statistically, you're going to look at him and say, yeah, he was a first line player. But Jeff Jarrett in the Attitude Era and then in the mid 90s was a guy that was sort of on the peripheral edge of the mid card and maybe toward the upper tier. In WCW, he had a cup of coffee for a year. And it was kind of basically that. He came back in. WCW was a sinking ship. Yes, he did ride the wave of what his character was in WWF. I think Jeff Jarrett, to me, will be remembered more for what he did outside of his in-ring work. And it was great. I mean, there's no question he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame years back. But I don't know if he should be a world champion again.
No, Jeff, if they put the title on Jeff Jarrett, it doesn't do anything for AEW.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't do anything for the fans.
It doesn't do it. See, Cena, as I know it's going to be hypocritical. You say, Tom, you're a hypocrite. But Cena is on the Mount Rushmore for a lot of people. Cena is a generational figure. Jeff Jarrett, and I love what Jeff Jarrett has done. And the man's in fantastic shape. He hasn't aged that much at all. But he's not a generational fit, and he's not going to help AEW gain ratings as a champion. He's just not.
It's like Flair in between 2004 to 2008 before he retired. Yeah. It's like, you wouldn't like I could live with Flair winning the title,
but I didn't need it.
But you didn't need it. And Jeff Jarrett's not in that conversation.
It's he's not. And listen, he's just not. And Flair is different. But again, Flair is different. But Flair is Ric Flair, maybe the greatest wrestler of all time. So I'm actually going to ask you a question on Ric Flair. I can't believe I'm going to ask you a question.
I know a question, Tom.
I can't believe I'm going to ask that in a minute. But I mean, Jeff Jarrett, I loved Jeff Jarrett. I think what he did with China really was ahead of the game. I think his matches with Razor Ramon, his matches with Shawn Michaels, I think what Jeff Jarrett did, really, he had some great matches. He had some great work, but it's like Dustin Rhodes to me. Jeff Jarrett, I think, was a bigger name. I think he certainly achieved more. because of Impact, because obviously, well, it was his company. But I just, I don't really need Jeff Jarrett to be world champion.
Like I said, you have to do the ebb and value. You have to make this a story where you get invested. Because if it's
Maybe
just a quick one and done,
I wouldn't mind him winning like the Ring of Honor world title. Like I wouldn't mind like the Chris Jericho route. Like that I wouldn't have a problem with, because I think, okay, maybe he could elevate some of the Ring of Honor talent.
Listen, like Jericho can't even elevate himself right now with the Ring of Honor.
But Jeff Jarrett, I think, is a much different wrestler. That's the difference. See, Jeff Jarrett is a lot smarter in that sense. And I think Jeff Jarrett does do the right thing, and his family have been in this for a longer time. So I wouldn't have a problem with like the Ring of Honor world title. Like I know like it's just a secondary to a lot of people, but I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but Tony Khan and his mad booking, it's like it just. And I actually watched Dynamite this Wednesday. I actually
what did you think?
There's no investment to keep watching the show because you can kind of figure out what happened week to week. Your biggest stars, the people you want to see, are not there. Why? Like MJF, a quick promo. Mariah May, a quick promo.
It's an infomercial. That's the difference.
There's not like you have like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin winning a tag team match. Edge coming in the main event. Or I'm sorry, Cope now, which sounds stupid enough. Mercedes Moné doesn't have that pizzazz she did in WWE. Like the bill, like John Moxley's not the guy who should be carrying this company. Like you need to have, but what made AEW different when they debuted 5 years ago, where there was a bunch of different talent, different faces.
Yeah.
Now you're not getting these different faces. You're getting these old WWE guys who kind of been hanging around, who are getting kind of that loud hooray in the sun, but it's destroying your other talent, not giving them opportunity. And the reason I think AEW was so attractive at first, because you were supposed to get different, but now it's no longer different.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately it's the same thing. The wheels are still stuck in motion. Let me get to one thing from Nathaniel Rage, because I do want to talk about Ric Flair. And if anybody wants to talk about the end of SmackDown or anything else, I'm not watching it. Anybody tell me?
They're just doing a tag team match right now with Solo, Jacob Fatu, and Tama Tonga versus.
I did see the Solo Heyman segment. I did see some of that.
That was actually a good segment. It put some intrigue there because Solo said if he wins, Heyman got to become his wise man, which again, it puts them intrigue. And I think disappointing would be fans would be shocked to see Heyman joining Solo full time.
But I wouldn't be surprised. The
one thing I was little surprised was Heyman, when Solo said, "You know this and I know this." I wish Heyman, because if they are going to do Roman versus Rock, Solo could have came out and said, "We knew Roman. Roman's time was done. You knew it. You were told someone. You heard it." Because I think they set that for Roman for Rock if it's happening.
Good point. I'm gonna get to Nathaniel. Jay White in WWE. What do you make of that? If you usually like to see it.
It depends, because I think it's all the thing with separate W from everywhere else, and Impact now kind of actually picking up on this. Your character development. You need to develop character. What is the character for Jay White? You look at Ethan Page, where Ethan Page, wrestler, didn't get that character development in AEW. Comes in all ego now. The smile you saw in NXT where he first came in, making NXT losing the title. Lost his smile. What he did to Javon Evans a few weeks ago, building this up, getting a smile back. You get this character. You look at Lex King, where it took a little bit while, but this alliance with William Regal all of a sudden. It's like you have to get the character development, and what will be Jay White's character development? Because I think professional wrestling is. I look at it it's a two-part thing. You have to have the great match, but if you really want to make it the big leagues, you got to sell a character. You got to get the people around you.
You have to have people emotionally want to invest in you 1,000%. And when you talked about Alexis King, I actually have to think about a man that was supposed to have come onto Sportswire Radio. A guy, Skrilla, he wrestled Lexis King, a guy I was supposed to have interviewed but canceled twice in the Indies. He had a little cameo or two in MLW, and he just wrestled because in the NXT's talents, some of them do indie work still. I don't know if you've seen that. So actually, that was made me think about that. But all right, I got to ask this question, and I can't believe I'm asking this on the edge of a man's 76th birthday, but it is apparent that Ric Flair wants one more match this year. That's it. It's the end. And Randy, I have to ask you, Ric Flair final match, is this where Ric Flair actually figuratively and literally has that stroke in the ring, and this time it's real?
If I'm a promoter, Tony Khan, Triple H,
Well, they can't. AEW and WWE are not going to have
TNA,
this match.
New Japan, GCW, Stampede, not Stampede, I think it's called RCW out in Calgary, where my city I live. You got Canadian wrestling with the Scott D'Amore's new company.
I did see that.
No, like you don't. Ric Flair doesn't. I don't think Ric Flair sells anymore. I think if he still sold tickets, I think if anything, people are going to see Ric Flair. They want to know if he had a heart attack in the ring. That's a sad reality.
You don't think that Ric Flair, that people would buy into that though? That you don't think that Ric Flair would sell a few thousand tickets?
No, maybe he might, but it's the same story a couple of years ago. We thought it was one and done. It's the boy who cries wolf. And this is the problem with professional wrestling, where hanging up the boots, and we've seen it, where they think they have that one more match. The Undertaker had that. Hogan, for crying out loud. Flair's a good
Hogan, we never really got that send off. We never got the send off with Hogan. He just had too many injuries. We never got it.
We kind of got into TNA and such, but not like in the WWE.
Well, Taker, you got his match with AJ, in WrestleMania, and he pretty much stuck to his word since. I mean, he's had a couple spots here and there, but never a match. He's actually, I think he'll be one of the guys that keeps his word, really.
Keeps his word, definitely. I think Triple H, you see him in the ring if his health wasn't where. Listen, Shawn Michaels came back and it was a disaster, and I don't think him and Kane are like, we're done, we're hanging up. Mick Foley can't go, but you look at some of the guys in the independents, like Scott Steiner, Tommy Dreamer.
Scott Steiner had also an issue out there, I think last year. He had a heart attack or something. I'm pretty sure of it.
Exactly. So it's like, and you just become the guy who cries wolf, saying, I want that one more match. And it's just like, how much more are you going to do until really people don't care about it? It might be exciting at first, which we saw a few years ago. Okay, everyone wants to see this Flair last match. I don't think people want to see it now, unless literally people want to see Ric Flair have a heart attack, which is a horrible thing to say, but I don't want to see that.
So who's going to have this match? I don't think AEW or WWE or even Impact could have a Ric Flair match because of age, health issues, and the PR of it. It's not going to work.
I don't think then the independents, like I said, GCW, the company, like they don't have the budget to put on a production like that. So it's
no, but you're banking on that maybe he'll sell extra tickets. You're banking on something, right? You're banking on pay-per-view that's going to sell an extra 1,000, 2,000. I don't know what the exact number would be, but you're banking on some kind of jolt, whether it's GCW, whether it's, MLW is an example. Let's say take those companies, which are kind of indie. MLW might be a little bit more higher indie. It's sort of on the peripheral edge, but if you're going to take those companies, or maybe a New Japan, which is sort of kind of been here in the States, along those lines, you're banking on some kind of shot in the dark type of extra buys or boost or something. All right? That's what your payoff is.
The other thing, Tom, as I've said, I don't know if I've said in wrestling, it takes two to tango. Does that one person want to tango, be in that situation with Ric Flair?
Who is that? We go to Jeff Jarrett? Is that what we do? We go to, he got history with him. We go with him. We go to, who would be out there? You ain't going to go Sting. So who would be out there?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Dustin Rhodes? We go to Dustin Rhodes?
I think Dustin is Dustin is smart and knows the business well. I think he realized, you don't want to be Flair. We saw in his match with Andrade, the tag team match against Jared, he could barely carry himself. in a tag team match. I think he fell asleep almost on the apron. I think.
Well, I mean, they said he was dehydrated and he was just in bad health that day.
Listen, the only thing I think you can do with Flair, if you want to give Goldberg that one match, is give him a spear and a jackhammer and call it a day. There you go.
Well, it's got to be a short match, right? I mean, is it somebody? I mean, I don't even know who you throw out there. Who would you throw? I mean, it's got to be somebody that's not in WWE, AEW.
But like maybe Dallas Diamond Page, but I think
I think DDP's he's not wrestling.
DDP's in good enough shape with the DDP.
DDP's in great shape, but can't.
But I think as well as there's no one really. But it's the risk itself. Do you want to put yourself in that situation?
I don't know. I don't see who would be out there that
maybe Hogan decides to go for that last match. I don't know.
I think Hogan's in worse shape than Flair. I think Hogan's done. I don't think Hogan. I think the ship sailed. I don't think Hogan. I mean, I don't know what's the point on who with the natural history. It's not going to be WWE. Not going to be AEW.
Unless Bischoff wants to have a
Tommy Dreamer, somebody that maybe overlapped with him, that maybe would sort of make sense. I mean, you go down that road, he would be out there as a name.
Yeah, Tommy Dreamer, but I think of it. Does Dreamer want to put himself in that situation where he's older?
He might have nothing to lose. Maybe it's a payoff. I mean, I'm just trying to think of who would be out there that would maybe have had history with Ric Flair in any form in the 90s and the 2000s. That would be out there. Chris Masters. That's a guy that's got some history with Ric Flair.
Chris Masters. He want that kind of. Yeah, that might be one name because
Masters would be a name. What's believable? They did certainly have a lot of history
for him. This could be the biggest moment, literally, of his career. But
Ric Flair. I mean, that would be a name. I know it's not like the sexy names, but there's really nobody left from that era.
It's a risk, and definitely I could see someone who's been on the independents for so long, definitely.
Chris Masters would make sense. Jay Lethal.
Jay Lethal, I don't think so because I think he's getting paid enough with AEW, and
I think Chris Masters would be a name. I would be like, you know what? All right, that would kind of make sense a little bit. I mean, there's some history there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Rhino maybe because I know
Rhino. Actually, it's funny you said Rhino. Because Rhino, there's been an effort, a draft movement. He apparently, Randy, wants to do podcast. And this platform actually was some wrestler, a guy, Andrew Lovelace, my guest on Wednesday, threw my name out there. And a whole bunch of other people threw my name out there to interview Rhino. And, I could ask Rhino this question. And I know Rhino has been listening because he just liked one of my reels on Instagram where I actually talked about Rhino. So, yeah, I mean, you know what? Rhino and Ric Flair, there's definitely some history there. And TNA, they intersected. Yeah. Certainly WWE, they intersected. I mean, so, Rhino and Ric Flair, I mean, that's believable. TNA Hall of Famer recently. And Rhino, as a matter of fact, is about to have his last match in TNA. He's about to have his final match in TNA. And he's a guy coming in toward the end of his career. And that would be maybe an interesting one, Randy. I could ask Rhino that question. I mean,
definitely,
Rhino,
I would love to.
What do you think about Ric Flair, and maybe what do you think being his final opponent? I mean, that would actually be one of the guys that Ric Flair was a peer of.
Listen, if they want to really do it, maybe we should do Flair and The Rock because we know The Rock can't really go that much either. It might be a slow match with a few moves, but it might be good enough.
Well, in that case, I'd say Flair and Hogan one more time, but but I just don't see it that. No. Let me get to a couple comments. I know Joe Dell's in the house. Well, let's see what he's got to say. Character development is important. I had the $1 Million Man in my car. We were talking the sword. You have to tell the story in the ring. Yes, you have to definitely tell the story in the ring. If the people don't buy into you, nobody else will.
It's something Bruce Hart. Sorry, Tom. It's something Bruce Hart told me really when I was training. He's like, the psychology is so important. You got to get them invested, and you can't give them too much. And this is where AEW struggles and WWE struggled when Vince was in charge. When you give them so much of the big thing, it becomes natural expectation. When you don't, then it's like, what the heck? But when you do give them the big thing, the big payoff, then it's like, wow. And that's why character development is so important.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I've been told by most people who come on here. Joe wants to say, there we go. Flair's last match has to be against Cody.
Oh
Yeah,
God,
no chance.
Dusty's not going to be
No,
happy about that one.
no chance. I don't see that one.
Mama Rose should have come out and slapped Cody if that happens.
Dustin would be believable. I think Dustin would be believable. But again, I don't see it if it's not an AEW or WWE talent. You've got really a slim picking of names who had history with him. I mean, Chris Masters would be a name I think would have history. I mean, as much as I'd want to say,
Cardona is a name you could use, but I don't think he's going to anywhere near that.
No, I think Matt Cardona is probably looking for another run in WWE or AEW. More likely AEW at this point. I don't see that as the venture, the avenue. I don't know. I'm trying to think if anybody else. I don't know. It would be really difficult. A name that's believable, that's got history with him, that could still wrestle in the ring. That's not an AEW or WWE. I don't know that answer. I mean,
yeah, it's hard.
Unless you want to go like Davey Boy Smith Jr.
I don't know.
Davey Boy Smith Jr. I mean,
hey, I got it. Batista, the Hollywood. They could do some Hollywood type. I'm being serious about this. This could actually.
Batista's been like, I'm done. Like that's it. Like he hasn't even been. He's like a legit actor. He's not even like he's a legitimate actor. All right. So Punk and Seth Rollins. What do you expect here on Monday?
So if we get anything close to what happened on the promo battle between the two, it's going to be a brawl. It's going to be a fight. And as Punk says, he's here to make money, and this is the money AEW lost because of the issue with the Elite, with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Tony Khan.
How much is this real still?
I think there's animosity. Listen, like I think you go back to some of the Shawn and Brett back in the day. You look at Hogan and Bischoff, like how much? Not Hogan and
Russo.
Yeah, Hogan and Vince Russo. Hogan and Vince, maybe some of the animosity.
I think Hogan and Vince Russo is a good one. I certainly think Shawn and Brett people will remember. Becky and Charlotte had some issues for a little while, a few years back. That was
they had some.
Matt Hardy and Edge. You can't forget about
that's the other one. I think this is the closest we're gonna get because that doesn't get more personal than what Matt Hardy and Edge did.
Yeah, that was like that was, and a woman was in the middle of that. That's the classic.
But again, it shows you, I think, the difference. Again, we're talking about AEW, the difference of making money, selling tickets, developing a story and characters. Because you look at the story between these two, where Punk returns, Rollins didn't want to come back, and we saw the shots taken at both these guys, but they're willing to put it bygones be bygones, do business. Look at what it did with McIntyre, his career this year. I don't think if he was willing to do that business with Punk, he would not have the year he had.
And speaking of Drew McIntyre, before we go to the regular guys here in a few minutes, what is going on with Drew McIntyre right now? I noticed he comes out and at the end of the show, and where is Drew McIntyre going all of a sudden?
I don't know where Drew McIntyre is going. I definitely think he's going to be the one to dethrone Cody. I don't think there's anyone else in the roster.
Really? You think he's the one?
I think he's the one. I think he had the momentum. He had the story to tell. People are loathing. He definitely can get the reaction from the crowd, do the work. I think he's the perfect person to take the title off Cody. But the problem is you have to get there, and there's some in between. So I think John Cena and Drew McIntyre might be a possibility down me. If they did want to do that Mania, it could work, but I don't think it is. But then where do you go with McIntyre? Like, because you can't do Punk. You already did Punk. I don't think you're going to gain
Roman.
I don't even know what they're doing with Roman at this point, because I know the rumors are they might do Roman and Punk at Mania. Paul Heyman made a reference on SmackDown saying that 10-year revenge. Are they finally going to pull the trigger and do?
Well, Roman and Punk, they have. I mean, there's the obviously situation with Paul, who Punk was Roman before Roman.
But if Roman the face, are you going to turn Punk heel with Heyman again? That's the thing. Like, if Seth is coming, like the thing with Seth and Punk is it's same with Matt. It's kind of with Matt and Edge was technically a bad guy, but there was actual hate to build this feud around.
Oh well, I think that's what we were talking about. I think that's the one that I kind of see similar to Punk and Seth Rollins more than
And they're that
anyone else.
hate. Seth have
Yeah.
been Punk. Both guys have been faces, but they're the legitimate hate they're using to build this story. Which
I don't
is
even
making
think
it sell.
Shawn and Brett had what Matt and Edge did, because that was just like, it was all of a sudden just came out of nowhere. I think Shawn and Brett, the internet, makes it, they don't really think in their time that the Survivor Series, I get that, but I think Matt and Edge was more personal.
Matt and Edge is as personal as it's gonna get. I
That's
don't think
100%.
and the fact that these two were willing to do business after all that just shows you. Listen, you don't gotta go to the bar after, and they're friends again.
And that's why I think with Shawn and Brett that they didn't really do business. Yes, I know people say you're Shawn and Brett, but I think Matt and Edge did a match after the Thought. Shawn and Brett didn't do a match after Survivor Series.
No,
these guys did it after an issue that they had. I mean,
that made a big public issue. It wasn't like
that was Matt Hardy was out of the company. He walked out and comes in, and that was like organic stuff. And Joe Dell says Ric Flair could wrestle Rob Moroska. Yeah, Rob Moroska's pretty old. I mean, Rob Moroska is definitely, farty.
If we get the rights, Tom, maybe we'll have to call it me and you.
You know what? And Craven Michael says Shawn and Brett. See, and thank you, Craven, for tuning in. But I think they were personal. But I think Matt and Edge, because of Lita and Matt leaving the company, I think Shawn and Brett, yes, for a lot of their time in WWE, it really wasn't. But over a span of a year, it got intense.
But what you were saying, Shawn and Brett build over time.
Yeah.
And Brett even said the big thing that really caused the drift was Shawn wasn't willing to put over Brett. And I think that was
and just all of a sudden was boom. It was like right there. That's it. It was just like, wow, okay. I didn't know.
Exactly. Where Matt Hardy and Edge, like it was like you knew the history between the two. These guys were friends. There were history with Lita. And
they were close. I think that's the thing. They were close. The Hardys, Edge and Christian, they were pretty much like for you, Crosby and Ovechkin. It was like these guys came in almost time. They were part of so many iconic moments. They were seen as almost like these were super tight guys. And then Edge, I mean, he did something that almost any man wouldn't do. And that's he took Matt Hardy's woman. And that's where I think it's different than Shawn and Brett. I think, and that's where when they worked together and they had a well-documented thing, and Matt Hardy's out of the company shows up, and that was, one thing. And Edge and Matt
were more with egos, where, listen, Brett kind of knew he was going.
I think that if you looked back, if those guys would have just sat down and probably talked it out, I think it would have been a lot different. And I think, again, I don't know the details, but I think if somebody could have just sat down.
If Vince would have said, you're doing this or we're not going ahead with you at that time, I think it could have been a different story.
Yeah, I think that if there was just cooler heads to prevail, I think Vince could have did a better job with that. But I think he was trying to pit these guys against each other. And I think if he didn't do that, which is something in politics. I remember in politics, sometimes people would say there would be some people I worked with that would try to pit somebody against another person to try to hurt them. Vince, wasn't there, but I think Edge and Matt Hardy was definitely really, really personal. Okay, so obviously I'm going to transition to some other things. I think I'm going to keep you on when Chris comes on here in a minute, because there's something I do want to talk about. But actually, Craven's got something I was going to just bring up. Anybody you see coming back in the Rumble?
I believe Joe Henry is going to show up in the Rumble. I think we're going to get a Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler showing up in the Rumble. For a legend, the problem with the legends are so.
Who's left?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, who are you going to you're not going to get your Hogan. Hopefully,
I hate to say it, but the man that people want me to interview, Rhino.
Rhino, with the TNA relationship, definitely. I could see it. Like Rhino, listen, the TNA relationship, how it's working between WWE and with Scott D'Amore now being head of creative in NXT, it definitely adds them around there. Eric Young,
you see
maybe.
Like a Mickey James in the Rumble again.
Heck, maybe we'll see Nick Aldis show up in the Rumble.
When are we getting Nick Aldis in a ring?
I don't know. Like that's the thing. Like he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet, and he pretty much said, "I'm content if I don't step in the ring with WWE at this
But
point."
it's Nick Aldis. You know what? There's a lot of people out there that know what Nick Aldis meant outside of WWE, and you mean to tell me that he's just some authority figure in the vein of in the past Sergeant Slaughter, Shawn Michaels when he was injured, Theodore Long? That's not Nick
I
Aldis.
definitely think he deserves an opportunity to
He
show what he
does.
did
Nick
in the
Aldis,
ring.
to me,
But the character, are you going to go from him? Like, what character do you work with? I think definitely is going to
he
be.
should get at least a match or two in WWE.
Cody definitely one. They've rumored with the history between these two. There, so that's definitely going to be a question. Who you're going to? The other surprises I see for the Rumble. For the women's Rumble, I'm very interested to see, do we get Jordan Grace making a 2-year appearance?
Back
Do
to
we
back.
get AJ Lee maybe making a surprise appearance? Mandy Rose, I'm always going to throw out a name because I know
think Mandy Rose. I just saw Mandy Rose's Instagram post. I don't think Mandy Rose is wrestling. I think Mandy Rose is making a lot more money, and let's
she's
just
making
say,
a lot more money, but does you kind of get that surprise?
I don't know. I think WWE, they're a public company, and I think she's very well endowed, and she shows those things on certain pages, and I don't know if that's the route that even does Mandy Rose just need the money.
She
She
doesn't
doesn't.
need WWE. That's the thing. But
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of feel like Mandy Rose. Yeah, it's a good surprise, but I don't. I just saw her Instagram post. She don't look
yeah,
like
no,
she's
she
getting ready
doesn't
for
need to
wrestling.
show up in WWE anytime soon. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
just trying
Well,
to
let me
think.
get to a couple
What?
things here. Yeah, Charlotte Flair. We spoke about
Yeah,
Charlotte. Charlotte. We
I
think.
expect her to be back on Monday. If she's not on Raw on Monday, then there might be another issue. A
Yeah, I
bigger
think
issue.
that's a good point. And yeah, I would love to interview Rhino. I hope that Rhino would come on to Sportswire. I mean, the people spoke on Facebook, the people spoke on
We want a
Instagram, and
gore.
he can go on me on Sportswire. I mean, I've done everything possible, and he just liked my video on Instagram. So I mean, he's heard it. I mean, and people tagged on it. There was people Craven's somebody named that knows Craven tagged my account. There was like 5 other wrestlers that tagged. I mean, people overseas tagged. So I mean, look, it's if it happens, great. If not, that's okay too. But yeah, I
I
love to
think
see Rhino on Sportswire.
Craven, I'm going to say Matt Condora's name is really throwing out there. Like, I know there's talk about him signing a deal with AEW, he's supposed to be in the feud with Jericho, but that now has kind of gone flat over the last few weeks. And again, this is the problem with AEW. They have something and they don't run with it when it's hot. They don't develop more. Then all of a sudden you come back to it. What do you do?
Yeah, that's a good point. All right. Well, I think I'm going to get ready for you to actually, I want to stay on. I think if Chris is going to come on here, I'm going to bring Rob Maraska. The show is going to get a lot older now because Rob Maraska has joined here. Rob Maraska.
What's with my age? I don't.
You
I'm
do
not
look
that
old. I mean,
Rob,
we're a
you were
younger
around the
station.
last
We're
time
a
the
younger
Rangers
in
had any
half,
success. So
and I didn't bring it up. It was Joe Dell who brought it up. That you are in the same range as Ric Flair. I mean, I don't think you're like 75, but
I'm nowhere near 75.
well, the white hair people. We are a young station. We have wrestlers in
I
their
could
20s come on here. We're young. We're like you're living.
I
in
could
the
retire if you want me to retire. I mean,
I don't really. I mean,
it is
Chris
past my
needs,
bedtime.
I think Chris needs you with the New York MLB talk.
Well, I
think
wouldn't retire from that.
You can come on the show. I think Joe Dell. That's Joe Dell who started that. Joe Dell said that you should wrestle Ric Flair because you're as old as him. That's what he said. I didn't bring up your age. That's what Joe said.
Well, I'm not going
you
to
obviously
compare
are
myself
older.
to Joe
You're
Dell.
Well, you are older compared to the rest of us in the platform. But I had Chris here. I want to let Randy stay on here for a minute because it was something actually non-wrestling that I wanted to, because I know Chris was talking about. I saw it in our group on Facebook, the Sports Authorities group, about what's going on with the NHL this year. I got to be honest, this has been the least interesting NHL year. And I had season tickets for years. Winter Classic, it was almost like if a tree fell in a forest, I wouldn't even known the game had aired. I see the ratings have dropped basically 80% since its peak. from 4.2 million homes in North America to under 1 million now. I mean, what's going on with the NHL game right now?
The NHL game, well, for the Winter Classic, they pretty much they beat it to a bush where it was something
It was
spectacular.
always New Year's Day, and they had it New Year's Eve, and it was like, for what?
It was something spectacular once a year, but they done it so much.
Stadium series.
And you get the same teams. Like, how many times has Chicago been in a Winter Classic?
Chicago sucks now. It's like,
And
they were even talking about that during the telecast. I was watching some of the game in the second half, and they were like, well, Chicago did win 3 Stanley Cups from 2009 to 17. But have you seen them the last 4 years?
Connor Bedard has been really, he's not living up to the hype. Everyone thinks he was supposed to live around Connor McDavid. The TNT broadcast, any chance I think they need to either have McDavid, Austin Matthews been hurt so much, Jack Hughes,
Colorado.
Yeah, you need to have these younger, different stars showing up. The Red Wings, they have almost every second or third week. The Red Wings don't really have any stars, and they're kind of in a fumble. Chicago, you have Bedard, but I think Paul Bennett.
They banked on the big cities, Chicago's, the Red Wings. The Rangers are.
Hey, if you want to watch the deep downfall of the Rangers, it's kind of interesting. but
Colorado Islander fans, it's actually.
Yeah, but I feel like with us, there's this team's even more boring than the Rangers, to be honest.
NBC actually did this well. They put on teams that bring interest.
I think they promoted the game because it was the only thing they had. Whereas TNT and ESPN, which is the problem that the NHL had years ago with ESPN, was they kind of get lost in the shuffle. Whereas the NHL, to me, on these networks got lost in the shuffle. Whereas NBC Sports, really, what they did right was they really promoted the game. They really made it I want to tune in. I just felt all right, I know I got to be here Wednesday. It was Wednesday nights. We get Thursday nights. Whereas now on TNT and ESPN, yeah, maybe they're putting more games out there because of ESPN Plus, but I don't.
There should be more talks about Crosby. Listen, I know the Penguins have an up and down year, but some of the accomplishment Crosby and Malcolm had. How much talk are they really putting behind Alexander Ovechkin and his race to
just scored the other day?
24 goals away. Connor McDavid.
Makes you feel better. He's got just as white hair as Rob Morosky.
Connor McDavid and what he's doing. They need to be talking about the players. The reason why when Chicago was in their heyday, there was so much to talk about. Same with
you
the
had
Red
Kane, you had Taves, you had Duncan Keith. Yep, you had I want to tune in to see the Blackhawks. They won 3 Stanley Cups in 8 years. You had the Penguins had a dynasty, back-to-back Stanley Cups. The Lightning were a dynasty. So you had those teams. Detroit was at the tail end. You said 2008, but I don't really have that right now. And I just think that in the NHL game, it's I don't know.
You want to give more eyes to Colorado, Nathan McKinnon, and talk about some of the issues. Get controversial. Is Mikko Rantanen going to take over pay? What the talk? I know
Carolina and the Devils had some issues recently. That would have been maybe fun to kind of have more of a discussion on. I didn't really.
What about just having one game for that the Winter Classic? It's the only NHL game going on that day. I don't want to hear about 10 other games that are going on.
I think it's smart.
One game.
They used to do that. They did that a few years ago.
I think the problem that they also have is college football is now a big deal right now because they expanded the playoffs. The NBA is on college. There's a million. College football has a million. College football takes over December, really. So the NHL, January 1st. All right, I had maybe my 3 bowl games that meant nothing when they first did this. To now, it's
oh yeah, now it's the playoff. It's big. It's huge.
I
told Tom last week. I said, why not put them on Christmas Eve? Nothing was on Christmas Eve.
Problem is the league, but the players with the union deal, they don't do anything from the 23rd to the 27th. That's the problem.
But they got to start promoting their game. Look at football. Football got 75 million people watching them on Christmas Day.
Football is a national event now. Football is the sport of NFL. It's
but you know what? They play on every day. They don't care.
The problem
what
is
the
as well,
NHL has to
Chris,
do. They
you
have to
got the
get out
World
there.
Juniors here in Canada as well, which the big deal. And after the collapse of Canada yesterday, my goodness, but like there's so much going on where the NHL they're getting. Chris is right; they're just getting lost in the shuffle, and they're not doing a good enough job promoting. Like if the NHL wanted to do a Winter Classic next year to get attention rating up, give me Colorado and Edmonton. Give me McDavid versus.
Yeah, you gotta put what they gotta do is they gotta flex
Put your
it. Like,
stars out there.
but like even so, St. Louis, Chicago.
The
Why?
Blues have been
Right,
on a
I know why
downtrend.
exactly.
What, St.
Like-
Louis is and they're talking about during the game. Well, St. Louis, since they changed to Montgomery as coach, they're playing better. Yeah, they're still nowhere near a playoff spot.
Right.
Chicago's been a bottom feeder team for 5 years. That Stanley Cup runs a decade ago. So why don't you flex? I'll even take Tampa Bay and Boston. Give me Toronto and maybe give me Toronto in Carolina or Toronto in New Jersey. New Jersey, how about that?
Toronto, New Jersey, that would be an interesting one
There
for
you go.
sure.
Because
There,
the coaches,
High
give me
scoring
something.
game.
Yeah, give me something. Why can't you flex the matchup or give me something like that's audio like Edmonton and Los Angeles? They have playoff history. That's a big matchup. LA's
I
a big
don't
city.
know if they're gonna do it. Like I know there's talk about they want to do an outdoor game in Florida next year, but I don't think it's going to be hard because I know they had that problem in 2014 when they did in Anaheim in 2015 in San Jose. There's some problem there, but listen, you got to play.
80. I don't know if anybody knows.
And what about promoting the game like to kids? Go on, like the NFL is on Nickelodeon now. They have their TV show. The NHL has to do that. Like they have us. Like we're their fans already. Like we're not their.
The problem that I think the problem I think the NHL always had this problem is it's a regional sport. It's a regional sport.
That too, yeah.
Third time. But the other problem is here in Canada, every second, third commercial, gamble, a betting ad. How are you going to get kids interested about the game of hockey when every 5 seconds you're showing
gambling makes money for these people? I mean, I personally, I never gambled because I don't believe in it. I mean, I know people, it's a big thing. I just, was one of those people. I know people are going to say, oh, he never drank, he never gambled, but I just don't do it. But it's a big thing in sports. Sports, people make a lot of money from that. That's changed the game in that sense. But yeah, I mean, look, the NFL has DraftKings. I mean, they could certainly do something on Disney. Yeah, they could. ESPN has Disney. TNT has its own channels. Yes, you could definitely do some different things.
They have to do some kind of cross promotion or something. The NHL, they have to get more into it.
The problem is also the NFL is a world event.
I don't want to compare them to the NFL, but you got to do some things like the NFL does.
Look at the NBA, like what they're doing, like they're getting more attention.
They could do anything. The NFL, they could literally do anything they want. And it would sell a million.
The NFL could take a dump, and people are going to go, oh, I got to tune into it. I got to tune in. But the NFL, listen, the NFL benefited. Taylor Swift certainly got a lot of people
into
the
last year. Sure,
she helped. You got now it's a worldwide presence. They go to Brazil, they go to London, they go to Germany.
And what does the NHL do?
The other problem I think with the NHL, Chris, is you look at some of their big stars: Kirill Kaprizov, Andrei Vasilevsky, Ovechkin. The Russian problem with the war in Ukraine, Putin, all that. I think that's killing them because Kirill Kaprizov is a heck of a player, a top 5 player, possibly in the league.
The language barrier too. With some
what the average person, the average fan, doesn't know a lot of the NHL stars. The average fan knows all the NFL stars, knows most of the Major League Baseball.
NFL, well, NFL has got a day that it owns, Sundays, right? The NHL, what day does the NHL own?
For Canada, it was Saturday night.
No other sport owns a day.
Well, Canada.
No.
Right?
No, but in
except for football. Well, in Canada, hockey owns what?
Saturday nights.
Saturday night, but that's even taking a toll, Chris, because
wow.
When the intermission
the ratings are down right now. I don't know if it's because TNT and ESPN have, or just it's a down time.
And again, promote the stars like San Jose kid, Cirelli. This kid's unbelievable.
Let me get to some comments. People want to talk about it. The hall monitor of Sportswire Radio, Justin Parsley, is here. The only 7-time Hall of Famer. Everything seems to be in order here. Yeah, because we don't make mistakes here on Sportswire, and we definitely aren't outliers. But Mr. Parsley, the hall monitor, is here, and we appreciate him tuning in. Rangers and Islanders were the Mets and the Cubs were in the early 80s. What does the Mets and the Cubs have to do with anything?
I think you think how bad they are right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, the
No,
Rangers and Islanders are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, in
okay.
the
I was
early
like, what is the Rangers and Islanders? Yeah, I think the Islanders are going to be. Rob Maraska left. Did he?
We scared Rob off.
I hope he comes
Randy,
back.
did you hear the rumors? Maybe the Rangers, the Islanders, and Vancouver talking trade.
Yeah, I've heard them. The Canucks are in a huge tailspin with JT Miller and Elias Pettersson, and they need to do something.
Trade partners 2 years ago with Bo
Bo Horvat,
right?
yeah. They need to do something because, listen, Vancouver, they have an impatient owner who doesn't want to wait. They want them to win as soon as possible, and he realizing, well, one, he overpriced his ticket this year. Like, I was looking to go to a game, $200 for like the highest ticket possible, which
Jesus
is
Christ.
ridiculous.
$200.
Yeah, Canadian. But that's still about 140 American.
I was going to say it's about
Yeah.
140.
That's still a lot of money.
That's still a lot of money.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
And you were going to have a nosebleed seat?
Yeah, that's how bad it was. In the regular
That's
season,
why I
You
don't
can go
go
to an Islander game for like $40 now because they're so
You know,
bad.
I did see that, but like I'm on Sportswire every night. So for me to take a trek, as much as I do want to go to Belmont, but I'm on Sportswire every night. Literally, I feel like if I
Well,
leave,
Tom, when you go, I'm going to meet you there. So
I know, but the
I
problem
will
is
have
if-
to make that trip as well. Maybe Tom.
my problem
Rob's
is-
gonna come.
I'm
Rob's
not-
gonna come.
my problem is if I leave Sportswire one night, even if it's like 3 people on the live
I
feed, it will be
know.
it will be a national event. So I would like to go to Belmont. That is on my bucket
You'll
list.
be reporting live from USB Arena.
I don't
PBS
have
Arena,
the
excuse me.
same kick, but go Irish, yes, Notre Dame and Tara. By the way, thoughts and prayers to what would happen in New Orleans. Just absolutely horrible thing there, and my thoughts and prayers with the people out there, and just a terrible thing for the world. Yeah, Pittsburgh and Boston's a name, but I'm like,
Yeah, not anymore. I don't
They
think.
did
Right?
it a few years ago. Picked
Yeah.
Boston, so it's like
5 years
Joey
ago. I'm in.
Bostrom's here. Joe, I haven't seen Joey Bostrom on Sportswire in a while. Joey Bostrom's in the house. Yeah, Joey. What'd you do for New Year's, Joey? Did you do karaoke or something? But good to see you, Joey. But yeah, I don't know what the league, NHL. I think it's, I don't know. I don't know what to say on the NHL.
Somebody's got to go in there and change things, like to market the league better. And I don't know, I'm not a marketing genius, so I have no idea. But they got to do something different than what they're doing.
oh yeah, the good
I
problem.
think they felt. I think legitimately. I think they felt when they got the deals with TNT and ESPN, it would generate them more money. I think they probably felt the game would get more exposure. I think they had to probably do it anyway because NBC Sports folded. So their options were probably very limited.
Yeah.
I guess from a TV partner standpoint, I think they did the best they could. I just think, unfortunately, the season right now that the league is having, it's not a great one. Sports, dude,
Right.
but baseball had a problem a few years ago.
Yeah.
People will complain about baseball, and people were like, baseball's boring. I can't watch it. It's too long.
They made changes, right? And now it's
Yep.
a little better.
You have to tell the story. Like, there's so much going on in the NHL. The collapse of the Rangers need to be talked about more. The Penguins struggle.
Yes.
Crosby, was he going to be talked? I know he's not going to be traded, but talk about those types of things. The Bruins' ugly start, and the problem with their management with them firing Jim
Ovechkin's,
Montgomery.
race to
Ovechkin's
get to
Well,
Gretzky's
Ovechkin
record,
missing
man.
time, I think, hurt the NHL because he would have like
He
7 or
would
8
be close to the
Yeah.
record at this
He'd
point.
be a lot closer.
And you got to remember too, like we're in a transitional time now with streaming and all that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the older fans, they don't want to deal with the streaming.
We were talking
So-
about that with Raw and WWE. That I think that we were like, a lot of people are hyped up about Monday with WWE because I think it's going to change the way we view sports and television permanently. This is like a
Yeah,
big
it's coming.
monumental event where like guys like Rob Maraska are going to be like, you used to be looking at TV guy, are going to be like, I got to go. And if I don't have Netflix, I can't watch Met Baseball. It's going to come.
Rob
Like,
can
what
look
are
through the
you
paper and
talking
see on
about?
Sunday who's
I'm
playing.
Who would be one of those guys? that
I'm
would be
more
there?
technical than
Rob's
probably
hip.
you guys.
Well, I don't know about that. Well, people would say on the surface
me.
that like
Rob doesn't have the rabbit ears anymore on the TV.
Yeah, I got
People
rid of
actually
those a
still
couple of
have-
years
people
ago.
Put the
still-
aluminum foil on it. Come
Actually,
on.
I don't think that you can have those TVs anymore. I think they
No.
outdated them years ago. No, seriously, they actually. I believe that those old TVs that didn't have any kind of converter, you can't view anything off them anymore. That's it.
No, I think you need one of those antenna, not the antenna, but that they have antennas that pick up some
Yes.
of the cable channels or something.
They don't. You can't actually view it anymore with just like the whole pickup.
Yeah,
of
no.
thing.
Yeah, you'll
Nope,
get
that's-
fuzz.
Nope, nothing. Joey Bostrom slept on New Year's. That was good. He watched college football. Good. All right. Well, Randy, you want to say I am going to transition, and this was a fun thing on hockey. I mean, I always liked hockey. I'm a hockey guy. I like to see the league come back a little bit. Maybe the second half of the season will do things, but I do think the ratings this year are.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
just
gonna-
the
I think
promotion.
NBA
of-
ratings are bad too, right?
Yeah.
I got to be honest. The NBA game, I don't. I mean, I know what's going on, but I don't get into the NBA until like April 1st. I feel
Right,
like the
after the
NBA,
All kind of with hockey too. Like it's like now you just kind of in cruise control until after the All-Star break.
I you know
things
what
start to
though?
pick up,
I
right?
don't, but I could sit and watch a hockey game. Like
Yeah.
as an
Well, it's
Islander fan, like I know what's going on. But like with the NBA, I mean, I'll be into it like when you get toward the end of the regular season, but like I'm not sitting there. I know the Knicks have won 9 in a row. I know Joey Bostrom was talking about it, but like I'm not really into the NBA on like December 14th when the Knicks are playing like the Jazz. Like
And
I'm
I'm
not
not
gonna sit there with
Randy was onto something too. Like the NBA, what storylines do the NBA have anymore? Like what superstar are you watching for now? Like since Kobe passed and since LeBron now is, he's 40 whatever years old. Who's the guy you're tuning in on for? Like I don't think there's a guy in the NBA that.
Well, you got
the
Steph
average
Curry
fan
still.
wants
You got
to see.
Kevin Durant. You got Giannis. I mean, there's still some players I would
Yeah.
watch.
But they're not iconic like like LeBron was and Kobe and
I
Jordan.
think Steph Curry.
Bird,
I think
Johnson.
Steph Curry gave him a run for his money. I think
For a
Steph
while,
Curry,
yeah. But I'm saying now, not years ago.
No,
Now.
but he's still a name. There's still names people tune in. I think the Celtics. There's a bunch. Jason Tatum. I would say. Giannis, I think, is still a player worthwhile. The people tune in to watch. The Knicks have Karl Anthony Towns. They have Jalen Brunson. I mean, there
I
are
think
some
we're
players.
missing rivals too. Rivalries in all the
Oh,
sports.
Well,
rivalry.
here's the problem with that. You don't play everybody 20 times anymore. You
Right.
don't play these teams.
And
You
there's so
play
much free agency, guys moving
32
back and
teams.
forth.
There's no, hey, I'm
Everybody's
with
friends
one
now.
team for 20 years. There's no, it's a miracle that Crosby and Ovechkin have played for the same.
Listen,
hate to
there's
say it,
no
but
rivalries like we see.
I hate to
years
say
ago.
it, but the Islanders are a bastion of that. We've had Brock Nelson, who's played for us forever.
Yeah.
Josh Bailey, who's played for us forever. Andrews Lee.
Unfortunately.
We've had the Islanders are like, if you want to play for like your whole career, the Islanders, they'll reward
Yeah, they
you.
love you. They'll
They'll
sign
give
you to a
like,
10-year
you have
contract. You
one
suck.
season, you're like
10 years.
you get one great year, you'll get like the biggest deal. But when it comes to getting a superstar in, we don't have the money. We're gonna have
let me
Matthew.
ask- Randy, what's the closest thing to the rivalry like when Detroit and Colorado was at their peak? I don't know if you remember that, but that was like one of the best rivalries of all time.
Yeah, that was
What's
late
even
90s.
close to that now?
I don't think they're anything even close to that level, Chris. Like the rivalries have just maybe Toronto, Boston, but
What
even
about
that
Tampa and Florida?
Tampa and Florida, it's up there, but I don't think it's at
Edmonton
the
and
level.
Los Angeles?
No, Edmonton had to dominate
But
their
they
way.
played in the playoffs a couple times.
That's the problem I don't like with the playoff format of the NHL with the divisional because you don't get to build those rivalries. Detroit and Colorado was built because of that. They had to go through each other.
They were mano a mano.
Vancouver and
Mhm.
Chicago, you guys probably heard that rivalry, how it all became about for a number of years. Like Vancouver and Boston shouldn't really be a rivalry just because of Stanley Cup. Like
Even
the
Rangers
Battle
Island
of
isn't that big anymore.
the
as a
Battle of
rivalry.
Alberta hasn't been what it was for a number of years because the Oilers and Flames have just been.
Well, they met in the playoffs.
They met in the playoff. It was interesting, but
I
team-
watched. It was a very good series.
it was a good series, but after that, it just hasn't been the same. Like the NHL has changed so much, where teams aren't. I don't know if they're good for as long as they should be. Like you look at the Rangers are a perfect
More teams in the
example.
league. Listen, there's more teams. There's 30 plus teams. It's hard to win. There's teams that I think that's a part of it too. Detroit and Colorado. I mean, there was also you had superstar players on those teams. You had Yzerman, Fedorov. You had Colorado had Sakic. They had players that I want to go up. Forsberg,
Right.
or Lemieux, Forsberg, Sakic.
I think how the game changed as well.
Right?
You don't have the big they've changed the NHL so much. You don't see fighting anymore. Like I know for the safety of the guy, but the game's not as physical. Like
I think though that was fighting was good to get out of the league because I think it gave third line guys it did give third line guys.
I'm not saying like you need like a Marty McSorley who protected Gretzky and that was his only job, but you definitely need some. Like guys don't get engaged in much. Like it's still a physical game. People lose their temper, but you don't see guys roughing it up like we saw with the Rangers and the Devils last year. Like that bench brawl all of a sudden. Like you don't see that. Like
let me get to a couple comments here. We'll hang out with it. Rob remembers celebrating the introduction of color. Is that true? Is that true?
Is it true?
Is it true? I mean, it's true.
Yeah.
It's
true.
Rob, were you around when the first computer came out as well with the telephone wire?
No, the first
wasn't that work?
Yeah, I was around when it was the first mainframe was like in 20 rooms of a building. That's how big it was.
I remember the Commodore 64,
wait a minute.
if you want to look up.
Wait. But wasn't computers in World War II that they had computers? Didn't they? There was I read that it was that they knew they had it in the 50s and the 40s. They had computers, didn't they?
They had it, yes. Not, nothing like
that. I mean, my dad worked on a computer when nobody. I do remember my dad working on a computer. He worked on it when nobody did. We're talking I don't know, early 90s, like maybe late 80s, early 90s. Worked with the computer. I mean, I actually remember him bringing home parts of a computer. Here, you got a keyboard. He would bring it. It was a big deal. It was like, wow.
I know.
It was like, wow, you really have these things? And it was like, you brought this. It's how we got I got a computer. It was like,
I was there. I was there for Pong.
I think the mid 80s or late 80s. I had a Commodore 64.
Jake Dvorak, who's about to wrestle tomorrow afternoon, is probably two. Maybe this will give him some motivation. Hello to Jake and what is Pong? I forget about talking about the Mets.
Pong was the first video game. It was
like the paddle, like the little slow white paddle.
I don't know Pong. I didn't know that. I wasn't around.
Rob, were you testing that out of the beta tester?
Beta tester.
That was maybe you were. I mean, did you have the
guy making the noise with the ball?
Well, he probably had he probably had a typewriter, right? So you had a typewriter?
Of course.
Okay. You had a typewriter.
I did.
I tested Pong out, and then afterwards I went out and had a drink with Babe Ruth and
What did Babe Ruth tell you? What did he say?
I'm not allowed to say.
Now for you tomorrow, Rob.
Rob, did Henry Ford give you a ride in the first automobile?
Rob's first computer was a Nimbus. What's a Nimbus? Is that anything? What is the Nimbus? I don't know.
I don't know. That you might have to Google. I don't know.
You know what? I don't know if I think the chat. I'm actually getting views for this, but I don't know if I should.
You know, like I said though, I'm not going to complain because you guys didn't see the Jets win a Super Bowl. I did. I saw the Mets win 2 World Series.
Well, I don't think the Jets are winning a Super Bowl. I mean, the Islanders for Randy. I don't see the Islanders winning a Stanley Cup. I think we were close a couple years ago. We were shorthanded goal in the 7th game of the conference finals. I think that game we could have won that series.
That was it. That was the year.
It was built everything, the Coliseum, the momentum.
Yep.
That was that. So I don't see the Islanders winning anytime soon. The Jets, LOL. But the Knicks are good. Joey Bostrom's a Knicks fan. Knicks have got,
Knicks got a shot.
Knicks are good. Rob's, telling us, the Mets.
Rob
we get a lot
of the Rangers won last, so maybe he'll see them again.
You never know. And hello to
hey, at least we've seen a New York team win this year, right? We've seen the Liberty win, so
yeah, Liberty. I'll give you that. Liberty. We're
maybe you'll see another New York team win. Maybe you see Buffalo win finally.
Yeah, you know what? Buffalo is actually the team I technically.
Oh, Rob, I thought you were talking about the Sabres. So I'm like, what are you talking about?
You know
like,
what? Technically,
about the Bills.
Speaking of Canada, for Randy, there are some in Canada that claim the Bills because of Toronto. There's the Buffalo is certainly going into the Toronto market, so there are some. But I guess some. But in Vancouver, there are some that claim the Seahawks because of the distance. And
with how close those two cities are, like Vancouver is kind of like pretty much a lot of people actually go see Seahawks game on Sundays. And
I've seen that on Instagram. I've seen.
And same with Toronto because that's 2 hours ride away from the border.
Yeah, it's not far at all. If you look at the map, Toronto and Niagara Falls, or Niagara Falls and Buffalo, it's like.
Let me ask you a question, Chris. You remember when the Islanders won the Stanley Cups, right?
Yes, early '80s.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. So you remember that?
That's 83. That's 83 is the last one. So that's 40 years ago, 41, 42 years ago now.
You didn't see it. I remember, of course, but
I don't.
But they haven't hanging out with Mike Bossy after partying.
That's right.
Well, they went to one more Cup final, and then that was it. They haven't been to the Cup final since the Islanders. They haven't even won a division title. They were talking about this in sports. The Cleveland Browns haven't won a division title in so long.
Division
the Lions,
I find, are kind of like I look at Pittsburgh. All three of their Stanley Cup, they weren't. I think maybe they weren't top of their division. The Kings, when the Hawks weren't top.
No, the Kings definitely not.
Last year, the Rangers won the President's Trophy, right?
Yeah, and look what happened.
Yeah. Some people believe in it. I don't know. As an Islander fan, Islanders haven't won a division title since 1988.
Yeah.
It's pretty pathetic, though.
That's pathetic.
And the league has expanded double. And you tell me you can't win a division?
Right. You can't fall back into one of those tough years where everybody.
I know it's a couple. Okay, we got to the back-to-back conference finals. We had a couple good playoff runs, but not win a division title and the league that's expanded more than double.
It's an embarrassing franchise.
Yeah, it's a joke. Yes, we pray for New Orleans. New Orleans, it's very absolutely horrific incident, but just terrible. And my thoughts and prayers. But did I win a division since '88?
It's bad.
Embarrassing. '88.
That's bad.
It is.
That is bad.
Bad. 1988. The New York Islanders' last division title was 19. I know. Again, they've had some playoff success. It's like they've been nothing, but 30
and win a division.
Think about it. Right. That's when Kirk Gibson hit the home run for the Dodgers.
1988 that's decades ago now. It's like you haven't won a division title since. It's like a joke.
And they're not winning one anytime soon either.
No,
they're going to be right into a rebuild this year. If they start, thinking they're going to,
I think the Islanders should just. They're not going anywhere. I know we're still 5 points out of the playoff spot. But
I said it last year that they should have started to rebuild. Now it's it's another year of
but this year I think it's more clearer to me that if you look at the last 10, 12 games,
awful.
The last dozen games. The Buffalo game, the back-to-backs this past week. There's just not an effort. Last year. You could say there was effort still. We were in a lot of games. We were going to overtime. This year, there's nothing. There's no nothing. You got any closing thoughts, Randy? You want to say anything else? Anything else you want to say, Randy, before next? We had a lot of fun talking about Rob and the computer. Who would have guessed?
Always fun talking about Rob, his time back, talking to Henry Ford, seeing McDonald's first making a burger there. So I'm just kidding, Rob. Chris, Rob, always a pleasure. Quick note on wrestling. Listen, like I said, Monday, this is the biggest wrestling show I think of all time on the weekly show. Definitely don't want to miss it. I'll leave it with the NHL. Alexander Ovechkin, we're 24 goals away. Is it possible we get to the end of the season?
We got 42, 43 games left.
So you have to score a goal every second or third game.
I think the month he missed.
It hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might get close, but I think next year we'll definitely.
If he comes super close, the storyline will be similar to when Hank Aaron broke the home run record, where he was left hanging, right? He was a couple home runs away, and then the next year he broke it, right? Ovechkin could be in the same predicament. He could be 7 goals away or 8 goals away, and then go into next season.
And then the final thing, I'm looking to a hockey fan, Chad. I do want to speak to a Rangers fan because listen, they are very interesting.
Well, Billy McInerney, you should speak with him.
I'm thinking Billy's going to reach out to him and talk because listen, they are
in the group chat.
They are on fire right now, and there's a lot going on with that organization.
Literally on fire. He doesn't mean they're on fire. I mean, although they played good last night.
They won.
They won.
And they're playing your Capitals tomorrow. Which,
it's a big matinee game at 9 a.m. here in the morning.
ABC, 12 o'clock. Did you know it was on ABC?
No, I didn't. They didn't advertise it.
I was watching college football, and that's how I know a little ticker. And it was like North Texas was playing. I think it was like Texas Southern, and it was like the little ticker. It was a little ticker.
By the way, if you guys want to watch, hockey's on.
Little ticker.
You know. By the way.
Yeah, the greatest
not doing anything
ever. So.
And then Joe Dell says, in perspective, the Islanders, when they won a division, at the same time, Guns N' Roses on Appetite for Destruction was touring with Deep Purple and Aerosmith to promote that album. Yeah, that's a long time ago, Joe. That's a long time ago. It's a long time ago, Joe.
It might even be before that, you know?
Yeah, well, 88.
86, right? 87? That tour?
No, I think 88 makes sense because
88,
Appetite came out 87. So 87, 88 makes sense.
Yeah. Division title. I thought you meant the
because Aerosmith was touring for permanent vacation.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. All right. So yeah, it's old. Randy, anything else you want to say?
No, that's all I got, Tom. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll chat with you again next week, guys.
You got it. It was a lot of fun. Randy Dillon, hockey fan chat, wants to talk to a Ranger fan. God bless him. And I'm here with the guys from the New York MLB Talk, and it's Rob Maraska, contest man, and Chris Bazaya. You know, Rob, I know we're about 30 minutes late on it. You have a contest. Everyone's talked about it on X. I'm going to give you the opportunity to announce the winner.
Yeah. Finally got a winner today, and we put it up, and today we got like the most people after all that time.
Congratulations. I'm going to put the video for it in a minute. Yep.
Yeah, let me just I'm looking for the winner is Andy Shabani of Long Island. He's angry.
Andy Shabani.
Yeah, and he's angry Albanian on X. So
I know angry Albanian. Yes, I know him very well. He's a long time Mets fan. Yeah, Rob, I know him. He's a long time Mets fan. He's a long time guy on X. Yep, good dude. Good dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy, and he's the winner of the Soto card. So
wow, what a small world. Angry Albanian won it. He's definitely, hopefully, less angry after receiving the Juan Soto Topps Now card, right? He's got to be less angry, you hope?
Yeah, well, that's a nice card, and that was one of the fastest sellouts on for Topps. So congratulations. I mean, that one, I think that was that card so far this year sold the most.
Wow. Well, congratulations. I mean, congratulations to Angry Albanian. He's a good follow on X, and I hope that he gets this card real soon and he's less angry. I mean, I hate to say it, but he's less angry, you know. He should be less angry in the world. I mean, I know it's a rough world. I can understand. Thank you, Nathaniel. Nathaniel Rage is probably like myself and Randy, hearing about stories about the computer in the 80s. That was fun. And Nathaniel, I think you might be here next weekend because I think Lyra Limber and Rocky are here next Saturday night. So you might want to see that. How you doing, President Zaddy? Salute, Rev. Did you see the character I made for you? I don't think I did. Was it on 2K24? Message me for that. Oh, check my community tab. I will check that in a minute, actually. Thank you for that. I will put that up in a minute. But congratulations. I will post that in a minute on the YouTube channel. But, fellas, good to see you. Happy New Year. I guess I'll spend a little bit of time on baseball. I don't really know if my audience is for football, but I mean, so what's going on here with the baseball offseason? I see Charlie Morton signs with the Baltimore Orioles, but yet I see Pete Alonso is still a free agent out there. So you guys talked a little bit about it on the show. I got a chance to hear it this morning, but what's going on with Pete Alonso still?
You know, it's one of these. I think Boris is screwing up a client. I mean, what's going on with Alonso in the market all of a sudden? You don't hear anyone else except, the Mets. So, like we talked about on our show, that's the best fit for both of them, I think. And, Alonso, I don't know what happened. now the Mets offered him a smaller contract. So he took a gamble. Me and Chris were talking about this. He didn't have a great walk year. We know that. And he's not going to get what he thought he was going to get. And it's not, as far as I'm concerned, doesn't help having Boris as your agent, okay? Because we saw what he did the past couple of years. He screwed a couple of clients, and it's not looking good for Alonso. He's not going to get what he wanted. So hopefully he has a reunion with the Mets and we can move forward. But if that doesn't happen, the Mets have other options. You know, they could sign Bregman. That's an option. They could move people around like we were talking about on the show. But Alonso, you know.
Wow, Rob, that's some big notes there, Rob. I almost couldn't. It covered your face.
Yeah, because I wrote something down that I wanted to say. Oh, okay. I know.
Down on the typewriter? Down on the top right here?
No. That's hand. It's cursive. That's another thing.
Okay.
No, he turned down 6 years, 150 million, right? That's what he turned down.
158, actually.
Yeah, 158. That's what I was looking at. And look, he's not gonna look what's happening.
He's gonna get half that. You know?
Yeah, it's insane. It's really insane what's going on. So you know what? They better get together with the Mets and do something. That's
I wonder
all I got.
if he turned it down, or did the agent say, don't worry about it, we're gonna get more than that?
What? Probably, it's Boris. So that's a good point, Chris. Was it Alonso feeling that he deserves more, or was it Boris telling him? And
thank you. We interrupted about Zaddy wanted to show his of yours truly here. Thank you. I don't know if I quite look like that, but I do appreciate the nice gesture here. Yes, live in the backyard wrestling ring, and we are live. Yep, live on Sportzwire. Thank you, Zaddy, for this. I will share it on the PWF page. Thank you, President Zaddy, for your nice drawing. I'm right.
That beats Alonso.
There you go.
Yeah, I think, Rob, this will get more views rather than the Alonso talk.
I think so.
Well, there you go. We'll put it on the screen. I just shared it, and yeah, there you go, live on site. I actually do have better teeth than that. I mean, my teeth actually are pretty good, but I appreciate you, and I hope that he liked it. He thought it was funny. Thank you. Yes, I salute you too, President Zaddy. Who else you got on YouTube? Let me actually pull your YouTube channel up. Oh, I know you now. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know exactly who you are. Yes. I definitely know who you are now. Yes, Freestyle King. Yes, I know very much who you are. Yes, I believe he is from the Promo Wrestling Federation. I'm pretty sure if it's the same person I'm thinking of. But there you go. We got some good stuff here, and check him out. Follow him on Instagram and YouTube. And you want anywhere else? Well, you're not. But you got a lot more views than most people. So check him out. He's on YouTube, and he liked it. It was funny. Salute. We salute you too. Thank you.
With Alonso's price going down or wherever it's going, it's going to probably open it up for other teams to possibly add him. I mean,
but how long are we going to wait for Alonso? Are we going to spring training? Because you guys spoke about it today. Today is now January 3rd, going into January 4th. And right now.
Month in what? A week? 2 weeks?
I'd say more like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
6 weeks. That's going to go by real fast, It's pretty amazing.
We saw what happened. We saw, right, Chris? We saw what happened.
Corbin Burns, right? He goes to the D-backs. Charlie Morton goes to the Orioles. Yeah. Bregman's still out there. So
someone's going to sign soon. And I still say, and I said it before.
Santander's right, still out there also.
Yeah. I think the Mets end up with one of them, either Alonso or Bregman.
Who's the cheaper one? Who's the cheaper one to get?
Probably Alonso at this point.
So the Mets get Alonso then, right? They bring him back, no problem.
Listen, and how many first basemen could get up there and give you 35, 40 home runs this season? He may not give you great defense. He's not going to hit for average. I get it. But he's going to hit 35, 40 home runs. Who else is going to do that? And he's doing that in not exactly a hitter's ballpark, too. So
yeah, definitely not a hitter's park. Definitely.
Yeah, that's true. And, it's... They had to say something to Soto, we're going to have protection for you in this lineup. So they got to make a move. I'm with Chris. They got to get one of the
One of
big
those
ones.
two guys got to be a Met by spring training. I think.
Yeah.
I think they got to be a Met by this month. I mean, we're not
right.
We're waiting for it. It's already going to be January 4th in a few minutes. So, like, pitchers and catchers report in 6 weeks. That's it. 6 weeks.
Just like last year with Montgomery and with
It's every year. No, it's every year. Every year there's somebody that's on the market.
Yeah.
Every year's back. Didn't Machado and Harper? They held out for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
But I don't think they got to spring training, right? I think just before spring training.
But there's still a long time,
Right. No, it was longer than we thought, for sure. And there's still other guys outside of those guys. So
yeah, it screws these guys up in spring training. You know, without spring training or going into spring training late, we saw what it did. Look what it did to Snell. You know, it's ridiculous. They got to get this done.
Yeah.
So Alonso shortchanges himself because he's not getting 6 years right now. He's not getting.
Maybe he gets 3 or 4 years at most.
Yeah,
4 years. I think it's crazy to think of. You know, it's
an option year. I don't know. We have to see. I think Boris overplayed his hand with Alonso.
Is there any chance that the Mets are not looking at Alonso, but rather a Vladimir Guerrero Jr.?
That's for next year, though.
Yeah,
right?
It's for next year.
Or the Toronto Blue Jays trade him. They ain't going to resign him, right?
Listen, I think Toronto's got to make a decision because listen, if you don't have any shot at re-signing him by the end of the year,
he ain't re-signing.
Right. So they got to trade him, get something for him because otherwise you're going to get a draft pick.
So the Mets,
I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to be sellers because there's no way now in that division. Like me and Chris were talking on our show.
Yeah, I heard that today. It's about Boston maybe ahead of Baltimore, but today Baltimore gets Charlie Morton. How does that impact the division?
It's not going to impact the division. I mean, they still need a
top move for 1 year. I mean, like I think it's an okay.
No, it's a good depth move. You know, it's a guy that's could slide in as your 4 or 5 starter.
Yeah,
they have that already. You know, they need a 1. They need an ace. You know, and I don't
he's a veteran. He's a veteran. Won a World Series. I think he could be
solid. Yeah, good mentor to some of the young pitchers they have. I agree.
Yeah, but the question is, Morton now. What's going on with the Atlanta Braves?
Right now they've lost 2 of their starters. Right.
Yeah, what's going on with them? I mean, not that I'm complaining, but
you want them to sign Alonso, or you want them to sign Bregman, and then I
don't think they'll sign either one, right? Because they got their third baseman. They're set. They just got to get healthy. I mean, pitching though,
it's going to be a team that's going to probably beat you offensively, and maybe they'll make a move in season. I guess.
That could be.
I don't know though. Are they banking on Sale to have another great season?
He won the Cy Young.
Yeah, but that was his first healthy season in like 5 or 6 years. So it's risky, but
great moment.
Good risk. Like you said, he won the Triple Crown, right, in pitching. I think last year for the National League.
I mean, look, the Atlanta Braves. Maybe you're in a similar predicament as the Baltimore Orioles, but the Atlanta Braves have won. But Alonso and Bregman, these guys, how long will it be until they sign?
I think Bregman's going to sign sooner than Alonso. I think Alonso's going to keep waiting because I think they're both kind of waiting for the other one to sign. But I think eventually Bregman's got to be like, all right, I want to get in. Let me get my 5-year deal settled. It's just a matter of where is he going to go, right? Where's Bregman? Boston, Detroit, the Mets. Who else would sign him?
Are the Yankees done this offseason?
No, I think. Listen, they still gotta trade Stroman because Stroman has no role right now. He's not a relief pitcher, and they already got their starting 5. So, yeah, you never have enough pitching.
Would the Atlanta Braves be a team that would take a Marcus Stroman? Mention them losing pitchers. Would that be a destination?
Possible. Maybe if the Yankees, paid a little bit.
I mean, pitching against the Mets, he'd be motivated a couple times, I'm sure.
Yeah. I think he would. He probably wouldn't mind going there because, it's the Braves and they got a shot to win and all that.
History of pitching.
It's just a matter of do the Braves want him? Because if they seen him how he pitched at the end of last year.
Yeah, but
maybe
Atlanta
not.
has historically been a place that they turn guys' careers around. He might be a guy that needs a change of scenery. He goes into a lower key market. They've got a history of pitching turnarounds. Look at Sale. Goes there. Maybe he fills a spot that Charlie Morton had.
Yeah,
Size.
that's true. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
I like that.
No, that is a pretty good idea.
I like it.
But
I mean, I don't
like
know
you
if it'll
said,
happen, but But the Yankees, though, they got to move Stroman, though. They got to move Stroman.
Yes, and then once they move him, that's I think $17-18 million. Then you got a little more room because they don't want to go over that Cohen tax that everybody talks about, right? It's like 301 or 290, whatever that number is.
Yeah.
They don't want to go over that amount. So if they could trade Stroman, then they could be in for someone else. Maybe someone a little better. But right now, like they added Andy Velasquez, the shortstop.
Saw that on X.
They added him, minor league deal. So that's that's for AAA depth, that kind of thing. So I think that's what they're going to make their move for now until they can move Stroman or like a DJ LeMahieu. They're saying they're going to give DJ LeMahieu a shot to win the third base spot, but I don't know. It looks
besides Soto, Chris, the Yankees have had a very, very good offseason,
I think you could say that what the money they would have spent on Soto was better spent on
multiple players. Sure.
Yeah, you got Fried, you got Williams from Milwaukee. I mean, you made some good moves.
Goldschmidt,
Bellinger. I mean, I basically for Soto, I got Bellinger, Goldschmidt, Fried, and Williams. Right? I mean,
you got better defensively for sure. Yeah, the offense. Yeah, it's not as good of Judge and Soto. Yeah, you're never going to replicate.
Yeah, but
that.
you know what, Goldschmidt? Maybe you're hoping one more. He bounced one more good year. Bellinger showed signs in the second half. Goldschmidt actually showed signs in the second half. So if you're looking at like the value of them, what you're counting on is that their second halves will carry over to the first half. And then with Fried, you got a legitimate now 1-2-1-2-3 punch there with Rodon, Cole, and Fried. And then you got a closer, which you lacked there. So really 4 for 1. I mean,
I think so. And you were never going to replace Soto with one guy. It was, you couldn't say, okay, I'm going to say, I'll sign Santander and put him out there. You're like, no, he's not one.
With the back of the baseball cards, we're here with Chris Bazaya and Rob Maraska, the hosts of the New York MLB Talk. Chris is also the host of the Liftoff Jets. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally. We're all wrestling and all sports matters here on Sports Player, but you can look at it again, and 4 players and the backs of their baseball cards. I mean, Goldschmidt and Bellinger, they've proven to be big middle of the bat guys. And if they do anything close to what they've done in the past, Yankees lineup is still good. Maybe even better.
Absolutely. They're without a doubt better defensively. The lineup I still think they need one more bat. And maybe, like you said it earlier with the Braves, maybe they're going to wait till the season starts and add someone at that point. So, because more guys become options during the season, right? What if a team falls out
because
of it,
people,
whatever.
everybody now with the extra wild card, a lot of teams are not sure where they go. People look at it and go, well, maybe I can win now. Whereas before, without that extra wild card, you might want to say, I would trade my players now, but maybe I wait and see where I am in May and then make a decision. I think that's that. Joe Dell wanted to say, what does the 643 signify on your shirt?
You guys should know what that means. What does that mean?
643?
Yeah. What does that mean? 643, and then there's a 2 at the bottom.
2.
Think baseball.
So, it's 643.
Double play, right? It's 6 4.
I know. Yeah, 3 I know what it is. 2.
Well, thank you.
Where did you get that? That's pretty cool.
Baseballisms.
Oh wow!
Yeah, no, that's cool. I knew
great
that
place. Check out their website. I'm not promoting them or anything, but definitely check out their website. Right. They have stores. They have one in Cooperstown, one in a couple.
Oh, it's funny you said Cooperstown. One of the wrestlers that came onto Sportswire, we had our New Year's Eve show. Big Tex, or a CFL now, actually went to Cooperstown. He's a big baseball fan. He went there, and he went to Cooperstown. It was one of his favorite moments of this year. Is he went to Cooperstown.
I was just there a couple of months ago.
Oh wow!
My daughter goes to school right like the
Okay.
couple of towns over.
Yeah, he
so.
was there, I think, literally right before the Hall of Fame ceremony. He was there right before it.
Oh, okay, so like July, August.
Yeah, he was in there July, literally like maybe even the first week of July. He was talking about it here on Sportswire. Half the wrestlers were like, huh? And then other ones like, they were like,
It's a
some of
great
the
town,
people
man. If you love baseball, it's
in the southern tier. Yep.
I like it.
How far of a car ride is that from here? Is it 4 hours?
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's
Actually, for me, it's 4 hours. For you, it might be a little less.
3. That's not too bad.
Yeah, it's like it's about 3:15.
Yeah,
That's not terrible. That's
not bad. It's not a bad ride.
Well, speaking of which, the Hall of Fame, I know vote is coming up here soon, and I'm sure that's a topic. So we'll talk about it, I'm sure, again. But we're coming close, right? Billy Wagner's got one more shot on the ballot. I mean, we got, some other people we usually talk about here on the ballot. People want more for Jimmy Rollins and, other people on the ballot. I mean, anything in particular on the Hall of Fame ballot, once again, as it's coming up here?
I think we talked about it, right? The two automatics got to be CC Sabathia and Ichiro.
Yep.
Those two should be shoo-ins. The rest, like you said, Wagner, it's his last season.
Andrew Jones, right? The name we always talk about.
Yeah. I'd like to see Andrew Jones in there. 10 gold gloves in center field. Yeah,
we always talk about it, but he tailed off at the end of his career, which, hurts him. But yeah, I agree with you. 10 gold gloves. He's always a name that's in discussion.
Hey, I got a question.
It's tough.
Oh, I got a question for you guys about the Hall of Fame. Do you think eventually Carlos Beltran gets in? Do you think the Houston Astro stealing signs, which has been going on forever, by the way, do you think that's going to hurt his chance forever? Because, I really think he should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think he gets in eventually. I think this is their way of kind of punishing him because his numbers should get
his percentages have gone up, right? A little bit.
Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And he's over 50, right? 60% or something.
Yeah, he's been moving up.
I think he eventually gets in. People need to kind of move on from the cheating scandal. It is what it is, right? And I still say, I'm a Yankee fan. I know they cheated, but you know what? We didn't lose because they cheated, right? We lost because we couldn't hit in game 6 and 7 of that ALCS. If you look at those games, we scored, I think, 1 or 2 runs in those 2 games.
I mean, Carlos Beltran, I guess you would say you'd look at his career differently than, I hate to throw Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, Rafael Palmeiro, Roger Clemens' names. But there's a significant difference in that I don't think Carlos Beltran used any, or at least we think, performance enhancing steroids that those guys might have used to significantly alter their career stats.
Right.
It's one thing that he's a part of, but if you looked at the, 17, 18 years in his career, did he really do anything to enhance his play? Not really. So, I mean, statistically, he's a Hall of Famer based on offense and defense. I mean,
he should.
But baseball writers are weird. Some guys want to put Chase Utley in the Hall of Fame. Was Chase Utley really? Well, no, there's he's another guy. There are people that want to put Felix Hernandez in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
he had a nice run. Don't get me wrong, but overall,
not long enough.
Right,
not long enough.
But there are people that think, well, because he was a Cy Young, he had some dominance. But if you look at the body of work,
the overall body of work doesn't look good. But yeah, he did have that era of dominance for sure. He had, 5, 6, 7 year run.
It's like a Don Mattingly. People look at Mattingly and they romanticize about these 5 years. And, Felix Rodriguez has got 5 or 6 great years. Right?
Where he was the best pitcher, I would think.
Yeah.
In baseball. He was a Cy Young Award, so he was the best pitcher.
He was a runner-up, but
57% last year, by the way.
57. I mean, what's he on the ballot? This is 3rd year, right?
I think it's his 3rd year. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he'd make the Hall of Fame. I think he'll make it. I don't know if
especially maybe next year. Like who's let me look. Who's next year's? Like what's next year's ballot? This is Ichiro. So
I'll share my screen and I'll
look
actually
at
tell.
2026.
I'll get it for you. I actually will get it for you.
Well, you're looking for that, like there are players,
I got it. I'm gonna put it up on the screen. We'll
Okay.
talk about it.
All right, because their careers were cut short. Like Chris, Thurman Munson, right?
He should be in.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's certain players who, even though their careers were cut short.
Well, if you're gonna put, I mean, Buster Posey they want to put in, but you could say, why isn't Thurman Munson? I understand.
Yeah, I think Munson should be in. Listen, you were talking about Chase Utley at second base. There's two guys I would put in before him, right? Jeff Kent and Bobby Grich.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Jeff Kent to me is just a no-brainer. Jeff Kent's career,
he's still the home run leader, right, for second baseman.
Jeff Kent, his last year was good. I mean, he ended his career. He averaged almost 100 runs batted in. I mean, next year's ballot is Andrew Jones, which they're betting him not making the Hall of Fame this year. Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, I know asterisks. Manny Ramirez, asterisks. Chase Utley, who's moving up, 29. Omar Vizquel, not making it. Bobby Abreu, the Hall of Fame are very good. Jimmy Rollins, moving up a little bit, but Hall of Fame very good. Andy Pettit not getting in. Mark Burley, again, Hall of Fame not very good. Frankie Rodriguez, probably has off the field issues hurting him. Torrey Hunter, not a Hall of Famer. David Wright, Mets Hall of Fame, but not baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but too short, career too short.
Cole Hamels, not a Hall of Famer. I don't think Cole Hamels.
Just look at the first ballot for next year.
I'm pulling it up right now. Right. I got Ryan Braun. Braun.
No.
No.
Alex Gordon. Yeah, okay. Edwin Encarnacion.
Hall of very good. A very good career, and I'm not saying that in a bad way at all.
No, 400 plus home runs.
Yeah.
Howie Kendrick, not a Hall of Famer.
No.
Nick Markakis, Hall of very good.
Yeah, very good, very solid player.
Hunter Pence, not a Hall of Famer.
No. There's no one, that
Matt Kemp, another guy. Hall of very
might
good.
Be the Beltran Andrew Jones year.
Yeah.
Rick Porcello. Okay. Yeah.
If Wagner had one more year and was on that ballot, I think he would get in.
He'd get in.
Sure.
Yeah, he'd get in. Because look
at
the
ballot that's next year, the first class, the only name, nobody. I don't see anybody getting in on the first ballot.
I don't see anybody.
No,
not for
not even one.
A lot of very good players, but not.
I mean, Cole Hamels might get. I'm sure is going to get some votes. I mean, because of the way that people look at the era now. But he's not a Hall of Famer to me,
right?
But of the ballot,
I think there's going to be some lean years coming up when you look at the
future.
There
definitely is.
Well, Andrew Jones, right? Now he'll have another year or two. I mean, Andrew Jones, he's another one on the border. Beltran, I'm sure we'll talk about it when the vote's released. Is it next week or not this week, but the following week, right?
Yeah, January 20.
So we got a couple weeks.
Got the date.
2 weeks. All right,
maybe 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it's 20 something.
Carlos Beltran probably has to wait.
Yeah, so I'll say Ichiro, CC, and let's put Wagner in this year.
I mean, what does Wagner need? Like 4 more votes? 5 more votes? I think he's going to make. I think he makes it by the skin of his teeth.
And then next year, if it's not Beltran or Andrew Jones, I don't think they'll get any.
No,
right?
That's why that's the best chance for those guys.
I think Andrew Jones, if he moves up to like 65, 66%.
He's at 61, right? So he should get a few more this year, right?
Let's see. There's a Hall of Fame tracker. Let me see the tracker.
And you know what? And when you think about it too, like I think we talked a little bit about Rob on the show. Like, there's not like 10 guys that you got on there that you're leaving people off.
I'll give you the tracker.
I wish I had one more vote. There's just not.
Yeah.
And next year it's even worse.
Next year,
right now, based on the public ballot, there's 90 ballots. A quarter of them are known. Each row 100. Sabathia 89. Wagner 85.3, Beltran 76.8, Jones 73, Utley 4. But again, the old timers, their ballots don't track the same people here, so there's going to be a drop off. Like Wagner is probably got to worry a little bit. 85, Beltran's not getting in this year, so that's the ballot of where these names are. So you're looking at it right now, you would think Ichiro, CC will get in. Wagner's got maybe a little better than 50-50 shot, but that was last updated today.
Yeah, I'll say the top three, right? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Beltran, I
don't think Beltran's getting in. I think it's a matter of, does Wagner finally, 85 would say he gets in, but you never know with these old hards, diehard guys,
Yeah.
Beltran and Jones, maybe next year, because there's no one really that hits you.
Jones is at 73. So if, let's just say he moves up to maybe 66. Is that enough of a jump to get him over the hurdle? That's what it comes down to, and you see guys here on the ballot. Jimmy Rollins moves up a little bit. Felix Hernandez.
And Andrew Jones is on his 8th year, so he's only got 2 more shots.
I mean, you like the number, but how close does he get to 70 when this is all said and done? That's and these guys are off the ballot. Brian McCann, Russell Martin will probably be off the ballot. David Wright made the ballot last year, survived. Will he survive this time? A lot of guys that I don't think.
Joy is another one. His career got cut short towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got some really big moments.
Yeah. World Series MVP, rookie of the year, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's short. He's definitely going to fall short.
Felix Hernandez, 24%. I don't see him a Hall of Famer. Chase Utley's moving up. I don't know why, but
I don't get that either. But he's not going to make it.
Postseason success, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, if he gets in before Kent, then
that's a joke.
Yeah, it would be a joke. It's anytime a second baseman starts getting talked about, I'm like, come on, you got to put this guy in.
259 lifetime numbers. The numbers are like very good. They're not great. 259 home runs, 1,000 RBI, 1,100 runs. OPS is 823, 150 steals, and 1,800 hits. Got 1 year of 200 hits. I talk about this guy every year comes up. We got 4 years of 100 RBI, hit 30 home runs 3 times, hit 20 home runs 5.
Phillies Hall of Fame.
But you know what though? But he's another guy. Maybe look at him and say 5 great years. He get 300, 302 times. He had slugs 500, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Maybe you're looking at 5-year body of work. And that's what he's probably.
How does he get in? How would he get in before Jeff Kent? Oh, that's ridiculous. There's no. I mean.
Yeah, I don't know why he doesn't get in, Jeff Kent. It doesn't.
Maybe he won a World Series, Utley. I don't know. 5, great postseason player. I don't think it should be impacted, but playoff wise, he was a great playoff player. I mean, that's maybe part of. If you look at his playoff numbers, he's got some big numbers. He got 6 home runs in 2009, 3 home runs in 2008. He was, he had 10 home runs in the postseason. 10 home runs is a lot, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know. But that'll be something we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Anything else? I mean, I'm not going to talk really much on football. I mean, the Jets season mercifully ends.
You know what? The Sunday night game is going to Well,
Bengals Steelers is big tonight. Yeah. That's a big one. That's going to decide 2, that Bengals win. That means the Broncos have to win, and that
Bengals lose, they're out.
Pittsburgh can still win the division, right? But if Baltimore has to lose first, right? Baltimore, although I don't think Baltimore's losing to Cleveland. But play along.
Another game that means something. Tampa's still playing for that division.
Tampa needs a win.
And
Miami and the Jets actually may mean something still.
Right.
Does Tua play? He says unlikely.
No, and you know what? At 4:00, that's when the Broncos play the Jets.
4:25.
So, right. So if
Yeah.
let's say if the Bengals win and the Broncos lose, the Dolphins can win and get into the playoffs.
Yep. Dolphins need
crazy.
They need a Bronco. They need both.
Yeah,
teams
but
going?
but you got to remember the Broncos. Kansas City's not gonna. How's Kansas City gonna play on Sunday?
True.
Right.
Well, look, if Cincinnati loses, for Denver, it still has to be in Miami. They have Miami to lose still. And if they lose as well, so Miami's game is still important.
Right.
And
Yeah,
the Vikings and Lions is
That's
got
the
so
game.
much on the line.
Oh, I can't wait to watch that game. That's gonna be a great one.
I can't wait.
Oh well, I mean, and we're obviously not excited then about the Jets, right? Aaron Rodgers played the whole year. Not excited about that.
Whoop-de-doo. That's the big accomplishment.
No, and you know what? You know what's big about the Detroit Minnesota game is that
What?
the winner, obviously, they get the number 1 seed throughout the
Yeah.
playoff. All right, so they get the
Yep.
home field. Now the loser is the wild card. So
Yeah.
they're gonna have to go
The fifth
to
seed.
right. They might have to go to Philly
Yeah.
and play in Philly in a couple of weeks if it gets.
Oh, right. But in the first round, they're going to
They're gonna play the worst division winner, which would
either
be
Tampa or Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they should win that game, but then the next week they're gonna have to go to Philly.
Tampa, though, played really. If Tampa wins the division, though, you don't think Tampa could beat Detroit or Minnesota? Tampa's played really well down there. If they would have won, they would have won 6 of their last 7.
I think they'll win. I think Detroit or Minnesota will beat them, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think you're right. They're going to play them good. I think it's going to be but if they play Detroit, I mean, how is anybody stopping that offense? They might give up 40, but
Tampa played Detroit really well last year in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm just saying. I listen.
Right.
I don't think if Atlanta wins a division, I don't really think much of Atlanta,
No.
Detroit,
Right.
or Minnesota. But I think Tampa could give one of those two teams a game. I do. I think Tampa could.
Yeah.
They would have won 6 of 7. I mean, they should beat New Orleans, but you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know if Carr's playing. Not that it matters, but
Yeah, Tampa should win, and yeah, I totally agree. They're gonna be a tough out in the playoffs. But I think, saying that, I still think Detroit and Minnesota are just that much better than them, and they'll just.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. But it's not going to be a cakewalk.
No.
And then right now, Green Bay and Washington are also fighting over the 6th and the 7th spots.
Yeah. Yep. It's basically pick your poison at that point.
And if you're the Rams, right, you're the 3. You're locked in the 3, right? So if you're the Rams,
I think so. I think they're locked in.
Do you want to? Now, do you guys have a liftoff jet show this week? Because I didn't get anything yet.
Yeah, I think Didn't I send it to you?
No, I got the baseball talk. I didn't get liftoff jets. If you
shoot.
have it, send it. Not have to be now, but send it to me during the day. I like to hear it. But I mean,
I thought I sent it to you.
I didn't get it. I got the baseball talk. Send it. Don't worry about it. Send it to me during the day. But let me ask you though, for the Rams, does it matter who they play? I mean, Washington is coming in. Although Atlanta, basically, what was going on with Atlanta and clock management? I mean,
I don't know. That was
what's
bad.
with these teams not figuring out when to call timeouts? It's repeatedly been a thing this year in the NFL. I don't understand. I mean, but does that matter to you, Washington or Green Bay? I mean, if you're the Rams, can you beat either one of these teams?
The Rams are. I mean, yeah, they got the home field at least, right? Because they'll have the division.
No.
I don't know. I think they could beat Washington because Washington, you got the rookie quarterback that always comes to play. That always comes into play during the playoffs. So I think I'd rather play Washington over Green Bay. Green Bay, we see Green Bay played Detroit.
Green Bay's playing really good football right now.
Yeah.
Green Bay is a good team. And it's won last year on the road, and maybe they could do it again. And I guess we'll find out. Obviously, Baltimore wins. They win the North. Again, we talked about Tampa. Tampa wins. They win the South. We got still scenarios with Cincinnati, Miami, and Denver. And And Cincinnati, I hear the talk about borrowing MVP. Again, wild game last week between Denver and Cincinnati. Wild, crazy outcome there. Pittsburgh's got a storyline. They've come in, lost 3 straight games, and a lot of fingers being pointed there. Obviously, the Atlanta situation we spoke about. Washington, has bounced back nicely with some big wins. Philly, obviously, where do we go here with Philly? That's another interesting team. Spoke about the Rams just now. So obviously, I think we'll do some more football next week. We'll see. But definitely these guys will have a lot more on the New York MLB talk. And congratulations to Angry Albanian of X, who won the Topps Now Juan Soto card with the Mets, and we'll see if there'll be a Topps Now Pete Alonso Mets card coming up soon, and who knows what else. But let me get to some closing thoughts here. We've had a lot of fun tonight. I'm going to go with you, Chris, first. Definitely looking forward to the Liftoff Jets. I've been playing a bunch of the shows over and over, and I want to give you the floor now. Anything else you want to plug, share, say? What a fun kind of show. We talked about Rob and the computer. We talked about the NHL. We actually covered a lot. I covered the NHL and the lack of ratings. I covered Rob and the computer. I covered, who used Pong. I covered a little bit of football for a few minutes. And I talked about some actually a little more interesting baseball talk than usual. I think we'll eventually get to some more interesting baseball talk, but you guys have a lot of interesting baseball talk on the Listen Live button on SportsWireRadio, where you can hear the New York MLB talk. And yes, thank you, Joe. I'll put your comment up here in a minute, but I pass the baton to you, Chris. I'm going to put your X up here on the screen as well, and fire away.
Thank you, Tom. Rob, always a pleasure talking to you guys. I'm just looking forward to the final week of the season. Finally ending the Jet season, putting one of the worst seasons of all time behind us. Hopefully better things are in the air coming soon. They talked to Coach Vrabel.
I did see that, yep.
Maybe we could get him as the head coach, and then he could help us pick a GM and all that. So right now, I don't know what to expect or what to want. The Jets are just a mess right now. So hopefully, though, we get it straightened out, starting with the head coach, GM, whoever it ends up being. So we'll see there. And definitely looking forward to the Sunday night game, like we were talking about, Detroit, Minnesota. Can't wait for that one. And then next week, the playoffs start already. It's amazing how quick the football season goes by,
Yeah, it's like September, and here we are, and it's January, and then football goes. And the bars are disappointed about this. The bars are like, it's going to be tough for the bars. I know February is a very tough sports month. February is a bad sports month. So
after the Super Bowl, it's like that's the only thing that's really
February is like a bad month. I'll tell you what, my friend Steve Saperstein, we're talking about him going somewhere. I don't want to say where and how, but he was like, I said, well, why don't you just go in February? I said, there's nothing to do in February. You can't hang out, watch a game. And I was like, well, he's like, well, how about President's Day weekend? I'm like, yeah, because that's like in almost the end of February. That's where sports it's dead.
Yeah, we get the NBA All-Star game in February, right? Or the NHL All-Star game.
Yeah.
Not that anybody really watches it, but
I can't
get it. Month. I agree. And there's dead month. Spring training's not even until March, so you're getting like nothing in February.
Yeah, I mean college basketball kind of, but I think for the bars and sports, it's the worst month of the year is February. The worst month. Even though I know the NHL and the NBA are still going, but
that's the time I think we should do a Sportswire Radio live in a sports bar.
People tell me that, but you have to. I have to know the place. And Duffy's does not have the Wi-Fi. It doesn't.
Yeah, I know you. I
remember people ask me. Well, actually, they want me to do it in college for 5 towns to go all the way to Dix Hills, but
yeah, that's a hike. I know.
It's a hike, and I don't really think it'll like give the oomph. I think, it's nice they come on. We love the colleges, but they don't really.
In Staten Island that you don't have to travel as far.
Yeah, but I don't have the name recognition. I don't have they don't know me. Like 5 towns, they know me. The school knows me. I don't know if it'll get they're like a Division 14 college. I mean, no, not really, but they're like not Division 1. So I don't like. Now I'm in now what Zaddy show with the backyard wrestling. Now that will get me like If I was in somebody's wrestling backyard, yeah, I would get I get 100 on the live. I get 100 and probably 110 people on YouTube
We need
live.
to get one on Staten. Is there a Staten Island backyard wrestling going on?
No, not New York City. There's nothing. There was one in Manhattan years ago. They did it in one in Harlem. They actually had a backyard. They had a little bit of backyard wrestling in Garrison Beach in Brooklyn, but this is ages ago. Because in Garrison Beach, if you know Garrison Beach, you go all the way down in the new, the new and the old sections. You can do it. You can even do it where the volleys are. I'm going really technical here, but backyard wrestling in New York City, it's not a thing because most people don't have backyards, but people would call the police. So it's
That's true.
Long Island, there was a thing of backyard
nosy people out here.
What's that?
A lot more nosy people out here.
Yeah, we were talking about this on Sportswire the other day about backyard wrestling in New York City. It comes up. There's a guy I'm friends with on Facebook that was we were talking about this, and he was like, "You got to do it." I'm like, I don't. It's unfortunately not a thing here. It's just not. Backyard wrestling in New York City is not. There's not an interest in it. There's not a following for it. It's it's just not. So unfortunately, no. But if I were to be in a backyard wrestling ring somewhere, that would be great. I mean, I could do college live on site. I could do something with that. I could, but
Kind of cool.
It's cool. I mean, I would, it's a fun thing. I don't know. I mean, they ask me a lot to do, but it's Dix Hills is far. To go to Dix Hills, I can't bring my computer there. I could do a video with a tripod. Yeah. I could get some views off it, but I don't think a bar would be fun, but you got to have the connection with the bar. You got to have you don't want to go to a random bar. Hey, like Duffy's, they know me enough, but the Wi-Fi sucks there.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi sucks. You could do it there. Yes. The Wi-Fi, but it's not the internet's not good there. So unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, there is a place I could do something, but again, it wouldn't give me this. It's the same thing. So, but yeah, we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll do something live on site. We'll figure something out. But Chris is on X. Rob, I'm going to pass the baton to you now. Obviously, you'll probably tell us more about some contests. Maybe not, but I'll give you closing thoughts. You get to close the show. A rather eventful, fun show on Sportswire tonight. It was a nice little one. Talked about a number of different things, and you get the last word tonight. So I pass the baton to you and fire away.
Thanks, Chris. Tom, great show as usual. A lot of fun tonight. A lot of different subjects. Just real quick, I'll announce another contest in a week or two. I'm working on it, so and we'll see what's going on with that. Just waiting to see what the Mets and Alonso do, and hopefully it's going to happen soon. Because before you know it, you're right, it's going to be the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and then spring training, and then opening day. It's going to be so fast.
Yeah, opening day is the end of March. It's the 29th, right?
Yeah, so it's gonna be so fast. But other than that, I'm really also looking forward to Sunday night's game. That's going to be a great game with Detroit and the Vikings. Can't wait for that game. And like Chris said, thank God the Jet season is over. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
Giants actually,
and the Jets ended a 420.
Yeah.
Well, Giants are playing for the number one pick. As for the Jets, 425 ending on a probably brutally cold night there in MetLife. I pity my brother and anybody else that's there. But but the game might mean something. Listen, the Jets maybe could play spoiler. I mean, the game may mean something. So you can look at it from that. Maybe Olbrich is, they say he's interviewing for the job. He should not get that job, but they say he's going to interview for it. He should not get it, but we'll see. I think Vrabel would be good. I mean,
I think the three of us are going to interview as well for that job.
No, they don't. I got too many negatives in backyard wrestling. I got way too many negatives. Even yesterday, one of the companies, I don't even want to give them any publicity, which is fought with the platform. They did a video package and they put a certain award. I'll tell it to you off. It's comical, and it was like, should I say something for 30 minutes? And I was like, nah, but we had fun with it. So yeah, no, they would look at my resume. Well, they're trying to get me a WWE ex-wrestler Rhino. We're trying to get Rhino to come onto sports. But yeah, where, I had 50 something likes on Facebook. He liked my video on Instagram where asked him to come on, so there's a lot of people really were like pushing me. I think Joe Dell even commented on it. Like people were sharing the post on Facebook and tagging him. So that would be
that'd be pretty cool.
Would be to have Rhino here would really actually mean
Rhino, the original Rhino, like from ECW, that Rhino.
Yep. The last he's the last ECW, the last real ECW champion. He was actually the number in the pro wrestling version of they do a magazine every year, the PWI 500. He was number 9 one year. So actually have him would actually be bigger than like being at like Duffy's. It would it's a moment. People want to see the moment. I just, he may not come on. I don't know. Listen, he may not come because, I'm big in backyard wrestling. And a lot of wrestlers frown on that. So I gave me the followers. I don't know, but he's liked my video. He liked it. 50. I got the most likes of anybody that was shouted out. So based on I got the views, the subs. I have the qualification.
Do you think a guy that like the Hardy Boys started at backyard, right? Didn't they start?
They did. Yeah, a lot of guys. Undertaker was in backyard.
Can you reach out to them? Maybe they would.
Well, Rhino. Well, that's why getting Rhino's like really like it
might open the door.
Getting him here because I think he would hear my intro. He'll see my chat here. It's like when we do like certain shows, there's like 30 people on a live on YouTube, and it's like a rally here. I think he'll come here. And I had a guy on Saturday night, Rad Dad Radley Belmont, who wrestled the Rock and Roll Express, and he's a big deal in YouTube wrestling, and he had like 20-something people here on the live, and people were like, it was emotional for people. So I feel like if Rhino were to be here, he would get probably like 40 or 50 people on the live, and I think that would like open the door. But a lot of politics, and the guys, they have handlers, so if he would come here, he was a big deal. He's in the TNA Wrestling Hall of Fame. He was the first SmackDown Tag Team Champion. He was in the PWI 500's top 43 times. He was a tag team champion multiple times. He was the TNA Impact. He was the NWA World Champion. He's like a big name. He was the last real ECW World Champion. So to get him here, it's like being inducted for me in the Hall. Even though like we have the Hall of Fame on Sportswire, but like Rhino being here will like basically solidify Sportswire. And speaking of people who could make that happen, I'll fill him in. The Tribal Cheese, I don't know if you've heard about this. Happy New Year to you. But there's a draft movement to get Rhino to come onto Sportswire. There's a Facebook post that I shared. If you look it up, it's on Monday your time. I got like 53 likes on it. A wrestler, Andrew Lovelace, tagged Rhino that he should come on to Sportswire. He's looking to do podcast, and like 7 other wrestlers shared it. And then on Instagram today, he liked my video calling him. I had like 17 likes on Instagram, like 400 something views. So we're trying to get Rhino onto Sportswire Radio. So you actually meet people. The Tribal Cheese meets people all over the world. So if you run into Rhino, tell him you're friends with Tom Bryce. But yeah, that's to fill you in. But yeah, getting Rhino onto Sportswire would it would be like a monumental movement. Yes, thank you, Zilla. Zilla's been trying to get us also with Rhino. But yeah, so that's my hope. But listen, I'm going to be honest. I'm not going about he's coming on. Look, the guy wants to come on. He wants to come on. But I'm not. I've emailed. I've DM'd. I will do another video to tag. I can't lead the horse to water. Yeah, and I'm doing well. Yeah, like I said, everything's good on Sportswire. I won some goofy award. Some backyard fed that supports pedos gave me some goofy award, which was funny. We had some fun with that. But no, we're trying to get Rhino onto Sportswire, and Rob's cat's in the background celebrating because Rob needs to go to bed. But yeah, I'm trying to get Rhino onto Sportswire. He liked my post on Instagram, and there's a post of mine that got 53 likes on Facebook and like 8 shares. And they all tagged him. So that's what I'm up to right now. So if you see him, Rhino, in the UK, tell him you're friends with me and to come on Sportswire. But that's where we're at. maybe Tribal Cheese, you'll come on to Sportswire by the end of the month because I'm going to have free time in the afternoons after January 14th. So anytime in an afternoon after January 14th, I'd like to see you come back. But in the meantime, I don't have much of a voice. I'm back here at 9:30 tonight with Silas Walker. I'm joined here by the hosts of the New York MLB Talk, Rob Moroska and Chris Bazaya. I'll play his Liftoff Jets show later today. And Barry Gutman, Barry, you showed up again. Barry, we were talking about a WWE wrestler coming on the Sportswire. Barry probably doesn't remember Rhino, but that's the talk for the last 10 minutes. I don't know why I went on as long about it, but Barry, if you see Rhino, go follow him and tell him that we're friends from Brooklyn and you should get him onto Sportswire Radio. But no, Barry's a hardcore gamer. Check him out, Hardcore Gamer Talk Show. But until then, everybody, check these guys out. Check them out on Instagram. Check them out in other places. I'll see everybody with Silas Walker at 9:30 p.m. to go into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all sports matters and all wrestling matters. And I am your voice of all of it, the Reverend Tom Bryce. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support. And I'll see you all later today with Silas Walker.